How we doing, everyone? We are live for Week 12 Sunday football. Going to be a great day. I got a good feeling about this stream, about this day. Hope we're all having a good Sunday morning so far. And there's going to be a lot of tough questions. This is a must-win week for fantasy, guys. This is the biggest stretch of the fantasy season. I know it's been a long season, but we can't lose sight of the goal, winning the fantasy football championship. First of all, you got to get into the fantasy football playoffs, though, and that's what this week is all about. Boyd or Montgomery in the flex. Yeah, so there's some weather to be aware of today, and the weather that you really need to be aware of the most is this Bears-Jets game. Looks like an absolute soaker in New York. Rain all game, increasingly heavy as the game goes on. Might not be bad for David Montgomery. No Justin Fields. Also probably bodes well for the carries for David Montgomery. Tyler Boyd, though, no Jamar Chase. He's got a good matchup against the Titans. I think it's close. If this is a PPR league, I'm okay going Boyd, but if it's not a PPR league, I think you got to go David Montgomery. David Montgomery does have one of the safest workloads in all of fantasy. This week, I have him ranked as my number 11 running back. Got my top 15 of each position up on the YouTube live. There's a lot of new names in my top 15 for each position this weekend. You can find that on the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. You'll get my top 15 rankings every position, my DraftKings lineup, my player prop pick of the day, all of my picks against the spread. Hopefully Thanksgiving went well for you all. Again, thankful for all of you. And yeah, so there are some important weather updates today. A decent amount of rain today, but the game that is going to be the worst weather today is the game that already was going to be a pretty gross offensive game. That's the Bears at the New York Jets. Bears are 7-point underdogs in this game. I am taking them +7. Feels like they are getting just a little bit too many points, in my opinion. Justin Fields out, though. So we're going to see Trevor Siemian against Mike White in a absolute soaker of a game. It's going to be absolutely downpouring the entire game. The wind isn't going to be terrible, but the rain will affect this game. They're not going to be able to throw very well. It could be similar to that Week 1 Bears game. If you guys remember all the way back to Week 1 against the 49ers, where it was absolutely soaking wet the whole game, and it was basically like they were playing in puddles. It might be like that in the Bears-Jets game today. The Ravens-Jaguars. There's going to be some rain in that game too, about 15 miles an hour of wind in that one as well. Not as concerned about that Ravens-Jaguars game with the wind. The Buccaneers-Browns game, though, I am a little bit worried about. There is going to be gusts of wind over 25 miles an hour in the Buccaneers-Browns game. And there also could be some scattered showers in that game. That's not great for Tom Brady and the passing offense of the Bucs, one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the league. In the Bengals-Titans game, there could be 15-mile-an-hour sustained winds, light showers. I'm not that worried about that one. Seems like it's going to get better as the game goes on, not worse in the Bengals-Titans game. The Broncos-Panthers game, there's a little bit of wind, nothing to be worried about there. And the Falcons-Commanders game, maybe the second worst weather of the day is actually the Falcons-Commanders game. There's going to be rain, but the rain is mostly happening now before the game. It seems like it's going to get better throughout the game, but there's some wind there too in the Falcons-Commanders game. Obviously, Falcons usually a dome team. No Kyle Pitts for the Falcons. Drake London going to be their top pass-catching option. How we doing, everyone? We will get to all these start-sit questions I'm seeing in the YouTube live, in the TikTok live. I'll be live for the next 3 hours or so. I'm sure I'll go back to some weather updates later, but come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio to see my top 15 rankings every position. I'm already seeing a lot of Josh Jacobs questions, a lot of Rachaad White questions, and you'll see these guys in my top 15 rankings. And the long story short was Rachaad White. Guys, you got to start Rachaad White. This week, there's no Leonard Fournette. This game, like I was just saying, there's going to be a little bit of bad weather in this game. 15-mile-an-hour winds with gusts over 25 miles an hour and some rain. That bodes well for Rachaad White. I could easily see him getting 5+ catches in this game. We've seen Fournette be extremely involved in the pass game. I'm a tiny bit nervous that Giovanni Bernard will mix in on some of the passing downs. Maybe he gets a third of the work. He'll be active today. We haven't really seen him all season. But Rachaad White's going to be the guy. I think he gets at least 65% of the snaps in this game, and that means, I think, at least 5 catches in this game where it might be harder to throw the ball deep with the wind and the rain. So, yeah, you got to start Rachaad White. Has a great chance at a touchdown, great chance at a big receiving day. I have him as my number 6 running back today. I have him as my number 6 running back. I do have him right ahead of Jeff Wilson, who you got to start Jeff Wilson. This week, Jeff Wilson gets the dead last run defense against the Texans. The Dolphins are over 14-point favorites in this game. I believe they're the biggest favorites of the day. I'll pull up my picks against the spread in just a second. But you got to be playing Jeff Wilson. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards today. He actually is the free player prop today. 82.5 rushing yards for Jeff Wilson seems high. I don't think it's going to seem very high at the end of the day. I think he gets 20-plus carries against the Texans in the game that the Dolphins just blow the lid off the Texans. So, yeah, I like Jeff Wilson a lot, and he's a top 10 play. I think I have him as number 7 right after Rachaad White, and that is in PPR league. Start Najee or Rachaad. Yeah, so Najee is also in the top 15 this week. I think maybe for the first time all season, Najee has to be. He has to be in the top 15. I have him at number 12 this week, and I think you could argue maybe he should be higher. There's no Jaylen Warren this week. Najee coming off his biggest workload game of the season, his best game, really his best 2 games of the season. And this week he gets the Colts. And the Colts have been much worse against the run than they have been against the pass. He had Najee 90% snap share last week, 20 carries, 6 targets. I mean, elite volume. He scored twice. I don't think he's going to score another 2 touchdowns this week, but he was the number 3 running back in fantasy last week. You got to be thinking very hard about starting Najee. I would start Jeff Wilson and Rachaad White over Najee Harris still, but Najee absolutely is a top 12 running back in my eyes today. Big homie, Sam, quite the predicament this week, starting White and CMC and move Jacobs to my flex just in case. My only 4 p.m. pivot for Jacobs is Palmer. Do I flex Evans and hope Jacobs sits? Yeah, so I do think Jacobs plays. It sounds like Jacobs is going to play. The last I read about Jacobs, let me pull this up, is that he was likely to play. Let me get the latest report. I feel confident enough to say that Josh Jacobs is going to play. He was a late add to the injury report, was always pretty concerning. But yeah, Adam Schefter reports Josh Jacobs is likely to play versus the Seahawks, barring any setbacks in his pregame warmup. So it's not a for sure thing he plays, but I think we can plan our rosters like he will play. And this is such a good spot for him against the Seahawks that I'm willing to take a slight injury risk with Jacobs. The ceiling is still really high. I still have him as a top 10 running back in fantasy this week, and I might have even had him top 5 had he not popped up on the injury report. Kamara or Jacobs, yeah, that's pretty close. I do think I do have Alvin Kamara 2 spots ahead of Josh Jacobs, and Kamara has a little bit less of that injury risk, so I am okay going Kamara over Jacobs. But I do think if Jacobs wasn't on the injury report, I probably would have had Jacobs over Kamara. All right, let me pull up this list here on the YouTube live, and let's get to a comment here. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, guys. Start 2 Olave, Juju, Boyd. And if you can, let me know Chubb or Rachaad White. Yeah, I'm playing Rachaad White over Nick Chubb. It feels weird, but I think Rachaad White out-touches Nick Chubb today. It's a tough matchup for Chubb against the Bucs. White, they're playing each other. White gets to the Browns. Browns defense not nearly as good against the run as the Bucs defense is. They're allowing the 2nd fewest yards per game to running backs this season. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Olave, Juju, and Boyd. Yeah, it's between Olave and Boyd in my eyes, and I actually think I have neither of them in my top 15 this week. I feel like both guys are very, very playable. I think I would go Olave, though. I think I would go Olave over Boyd. Boyd definitely still has a intriguing floor, but he's coming off kind of a disappointing game. Olave coming off one of his best games. I think I would go Olave over Tyler Boyd. It's a good matchup for both guys, though. Both guys have a decent matchup this week. I mean, Boyd against the Titans is very intriguing. Why is Hollywood a must bench? Yeah, I'll talk about Hollywood Brown a little bit. I think I would play. Let me put my running back rankings again here on the YouTube live. Montgomery or Najee, I have these guys back-to-back in my rankings. I have Montgomery just 1 spot ahead of Najee. It's a slightly better matchup for David Montgomery. Najee again against the Colts. I think that's a better matchup. Let me pull this up. It's really close. I do feel like it helps. Yeah, so we have David Montgomery against the Jets in a really, really, really rainy game. Like they're not going to be able to throw in this game. It's going to be absolutely downpour, torrential rain in this game. I think that means pretty confidently 20-plus touches for David Montgomery, though we could say sort of the same thing about Najee. He does have actually a better matchup, Najee. The Colts have been worse against the run than the Jets. Najee, I think, is also locked in for 20-plus touches. I think it's super close. I feel like it's really close. I'm okay going Najee. I'm okay going David Montgomery. I have them back-to-back in my rankings. I personally would lean towards Montgomery against the Jets. But it's close. It's definitely extremely close. And I think Najee can be started over Montgomery. Let me pull up my QB rankings. Not very many high-end QBs with the QBs that have already played this week. Lamar getting kind of tough to trust at this point. He's coming off a really tough stretch of games, really since his week 2 and week 3 performances. We have not seen the ceiling from Lamar. He's dealing with his own injury now. He has no Rashad Bateman. He has not had a good fantasy game without Rashad Bateman this season. Not a single game over 25 points without Rashad Bateman. That's Lamar Jackson. I have him still ranked number 5, but only because there's a lot of the best QBs already out of the way. I would play Tua over Lamar. I would play Joe Burrow over Lamar. I would play Jalen Hurts and Mahomes over Lamar. And I think there's a case for Justin Herbert over Lamar as well. I don't think I'd play Geno over Lamar, but it's absolutely close. And then Kyler, I'm not playing Kyler over them all. Let's talk about Marquise Brown, though, because Marquise Brown is coming back this week and kind of a good situation for him. There's no Greg Dortch in this game. There's no Rondale Moore in this game. The corpse of A.J. Green is obviously not going to get in the way of Marquise Brown. The only thing that's going to get in the way of Marquise Brown is Marquise Brown and his injury. He's activated from injured reserve, though, and it sounds like he might get a decent amount of run today. I'm nervous, though. I'm nervous for Marquise Brown with DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, still in the mix. He's going to continue to see just elite target volume. Marquise Brown gets a matchup against the Chargers. They're top 10 defense against receivers this season, and they also elevated Andre Basilia, and that kind of also tells me, one, Greg Dortch obviously is going to be missing this game, but also Marquise Brown might not be back to 100% snap share right away. I'm a little nervous Marquise Brown is used a little bit more situationally this week. I think there's a pretty good chance he goes under 8 targets in this game. I'm a little out on Marquise Brown for that reason. If you need to start him, you can. He is going to play. And there are a lot of injuries for the Cardinals passing attack. But yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for Marquise Brown overall. I'm definitely playing DeAndre Hopkins. I liked James Conner this week too against the Chargers run defense. I'm a little out though on Marquise Brown in general. I'm also out on Christian Watson this week. I was very in on Christian Watson last week and the week before that. But those were 2 great matchups. Not as good of a matchup this week against the Eagles. Darius Slay and that secondary much better than the Titans secondary they played last week. I think I trust Allen Lazard a little bit more than Christian Watson this week. Yo, Sam, how's it going? It's Weatherman Sam in play today. Yarshma, how we doing, man? Yeah, Weatherman Sam already made a quick appearance. By the way, we're live on YouTube and TikTok. Come to the YouTube live for my top 15 rankings, every single position, and my DraftKings lineup, and my favorite player prop, and my picks against the spread. All that's on the YouTube live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. You're like 2 presses of your finger away. If you're watching on the TikTok live, come to the YouTube live. I'm telling you, a lot of your comments will just get answered immediately on the YouTube live. But first off, yes, there's some weather you absolutely need to be aware of today. The first game that is going to be brutally impacted by the weather, it's the Bears at the Jets. Because, of course, it's the already gross Bears at the Jets game. It's going to be an absolute soaker between the Bears and the Jets. It's going to be absolutely downpouring the entire game. Heavy rain throughout the game, and it sounds like it's actually going to get worse as the game goes on, which is actually the opposite case for most of the other weather-impacted games today. So the Bears-Jets game going to be pouring, and it's going to rain harder and harder and harder, basically, as the game goes on. The other game you got to be aware of, though, is the Falcons at the Commanders. Dome team in the Falcons, heavy rain before the game in Washington. But that game, it's supposed to get easier. The weather's supposed to get better as the game goes on, but still the conditions on the field might be pretty bad. Could be a slip and slide type situation in the Commanders-Falcons game. The wind shouldn't be very bad in that game, but there is some other games with wind. The Buccaneers-Browns game is the next scariest game in terms of weather. We got wind gusts over 25 miles an hour in that game. That is very concerning. There's going to be a little bit of rain in that game too. I think that actually might bode well for Rachaad White. I'm seeing a lot of checkdowns for Rachaad White today. I could not find a receptions prop line for him on PrizePicks or Underdog, but if there's one out there, I probably will like the reception prop line for Rachaad White. I am starting Rachaad White basically in all situations this week. What about Perine? Yeah, so Perine is startable. He is startable this week, but I like him pretty significantly less than everyone that's in my top 15 running back rankings, which, again, you can see on the YouTube live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. But I like all these 15 running backs significantly more than Samaje Perine because I just don't think Samaje Perine is good. He really lacks a lot of the traits that Joe Mixon has, but he is going to be the lead back for the Bengals. There's no Joe Mixon this week. There's no Jamar Chase this week. Chris Evans, I believe, is going to be active for this game, and I think he's going to get a lot of the pass down work. Let me just confirm that Chris Evans will be playing because I think he was actually questionable too. He's the other backup running back for the Bengals. Yep, he's good to go for week 12 against the Titans. And so, yeah, Samaje Perine's not in this workhorse role that a lot of these other running backs in the top 15 are, but he is likely going to lead the Bengals in carries. He should get some catches as well, and it's not a horrible matchup against the Titans, but the Titans have a much worse secondary than they do run defense. Samaje Perine has a really low floor. That's really the key difference from the rest of the guys in the top 15. The floor for Samaje Perine, under 5 points. Like, he could easily rush under 50 yards and not have very many catches and not score a touchdown. Again, Chris Evans will be involved for them too. So I'm not fully in on Samaje Perine. Why so high on Taysom Hill? Yeah, so Taysom Hill is the guy I really want to be high on this week because I really feel like a Taysom Hill big week is a little bit due. I think it's coming. He's set a season high snap share last week, 55% of the snaps last week for Taysom Hill. That's by far the most he's played this season. That's 15% basically higher than any other week that he played. He had 7.6 fantasy points last week. He led the team in rushing last week. I really think they're just going to continue to use Taysom more and more and more as it becomes clear that he's sort of the most reliable, one of the most reliable offensive pieces they have. It's Chris Olave, it's Alvin Kamara, and then I think it's Taysom Hill in this offense with Michael Thomas out, Jarvis Landry not making a huge impact. I like Taysom Hill more than most tight ends, but he's still I think all the way down at number 10. So I still have 9 tight ends ranked ahead of him. But yeah, number 10 feels right for me, Caden. Taysom Hill, he has a really low floor, just like every other tight end in fantasy, but the ceiling is really higher than almost every other tight end in fantasy outside the top, really the top 3 guys. Obviously, Travis Kelce, Andrews, you're not benching those guys. Kittle and Pat Freiermuth, and even Tyler Higbee. I think you can't start any of those guys over Taysom, but I'd argue Taysom Hill has a higher ceiling than Gerald Everett, a higher ceiling than Hayden Hurst, a higher ceiling than Greg Dulcich. He could rush for multiple touchdowns. You just can't say that about any other tight end. And he could also throw some passes in this game. He did throw some passes last week. So yeah, I like Taysom Hill increasingly more as he's playing more and as they sort of need him more each week. So yeah, I like Taysom Hill. I like the upside of Taysom in general this week. Good morning, Sam. Thanks for all the help, and I love the app. Yeah, shout out to you, Hudson. Shout out to the WalterPicks app, guys. If you haven't checked it out, you got to check it out. You got to check out the WalterPicks app. It's free to download, free to try out. You can do as many start date comparisons as you want. It's going to help you with your trades, your start decisions, your draft next season, and it's completely free to try. And we have a Black Friday sale running for the premium subs in the WalterPicks app too. It's as cheap as it's going to be all year. So shout out to you, Hudson, for checking out the app. Few questions today. Evans, Metcalf, or Marquise Brown? Yeah, I would not play Marquise Brown over Evans or Metcalf. I would play Metcalf, I think, over Mike Evans, given that there might be wind gusts in that Buccaneers game over 25 miles an hour. I'm okay going Metcalf over Evans. I think my rankings might actually be, I think I'm going to change this actually really quickly here because of this weather report. I'm going to move Metcalf and Lockett ahead of Godwin and Evans in my rankings. Again, I still think Evans and Godwin can be started in a lot of situations. The Bucs are still one of the pass heaviest teams in the league, but again, wind gusts over 25 miles an hour plus the rain. It does have me a little bit more nervous for that game. So I would be okay going Metcalf. Really good spot for him against the Raiders. I'm not playing Marquise Brown over either of these guys. Everett or Njoku. Yeah, Njoku I feel like is really tough to get a read on. Obviously, he's playing, and he's, again, though, in a game that could have some pretty bad weather against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers haven't been great against tight ends, but again, there's wind gusts over 25 miles an hour. I'm okay going Gerald Everett against the Cardinals, who have not stopped. They have not stopped a single tight end. I'm talking 0 tight ends the Cardinals have stopped this entire season. I'm usually not very high on Everett, but I'd love the matchup for Everett. And if Jacobs doesn't play, Patterson, Pirine, or Michael Carter. Yeah, I saw some question about Cordero Patterson in the TikTok live too. I think he's one of the toughest guys to trust in fantasy right now. So it makes sense that we're seeing some questions about him. But again, if you look at the weather in this Falcons game, that's going to be the worst weather game of the day. It is going to be extremely heavy rain. The Falcons are not going to be able to throw in this game. So I do like Cordero Patterson for that reason. I think I would play Patterson over Samaje Perine. I think Perine has an even lower floor than Patterson. Michael Carter's close too. Obviously, he's playing in that Bears game, which also is going to have some bad weather in it. The Bears game is going to have the worst weather of the day. I don't love Michael Carter either. I think I'd go Patterson. But all 3 of those guys definitely are startable. Walter, I beggeth. Sutton or Allen. Yeah, so first of all, Bo, classic mistake, man. Don't worry about it. My name's actually Sam. A classic mistake. Walter's the AI algorithm that I helped build that powers the WalterPicks app, which is this free app in the iOS and Android app store. I've spent the last 3 years of my life essentially building this app, and it helps you with everything to do. Every decision you have to make in fantasy, it can help you make. That's what Walter is. And my name's Sam. Don't worry about it, though. Classic mistake. I think I would be going. I think I would go Keenan Allen over Courtland Sutton. I have Keenan Allen ranked number 7. This week, I have Courtland Sutton ranked number 13. I like Keenan a lot against the Cardinals. There's no Mike Williams this week. I think that bodes well for Keenan Allen. And we saw it finally from Keenan Allen. I wasn't starting Keenan Allen last week. He ended up having a good game in his first game back. And we saw him get through most of the game. He played 66% of the snaps. He ran 23 routes. That seems like his floor this week in a game. That's not a horrible matchup against the Cardinals. He had 5 catches, 94 yards, 12.4 points, no touchdowns last week. But yeah, I like Keenan Allen a lot. I think his floor is just really great. And his ceiling's high too, attached to Justin Herbert. James Conner or Chris Godwin. Yeah, so James Conner is absolutely safer than Chris Godwin. We got some potential wind gusts in that Buccaneers game, over 25 miles an hour. That is a very concerning threshold to be passing, but there's going to be sustained winds around 15 miles an hour in this Buccaneers game. Meanwhile, James Conner is a workhorse back against the second to worst run defense in the league. There's basically no competition for touches in that backfield. So I'm okay going James Conner over Chris Godwin. I think that is a little bit safe, though. I think Chris Godwin maybe is a slightly higher ceiling. DraftKings lineup. Yeah, let me pull up the DraftKings lineup. Some guys I haven't talked about much in my DraftKings lineup. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link is in the TikTok bio. If you're watching live on TikTok, you can see my DraftKings lineup right on the screen right now. I'm going with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd stack on DraftKings this week. I'm running it back with Treylon Burks against the Bengals too. I kind of like this game as a sneaky shootout. The Titans offense has kind of been clicking. This is a close game by the spread too. I think the Bengals are 1-point favorites. I'll actually pull up my let me pull up my picks against the spread here for the bottom of the screen. Yeah, the Bengals are -1. I do think the Bengals win this game, but it could be close. I just really like targeting this Titans secondary. It's why I like Christian Watson in the Packers passing attack on Thursday last week. The Titans guys, they've been really bad against receivers this whole season. They're allowing the third most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. They got torched by Christian Watson for 2 TDs. Last week, Allen Lazard had 5 catches, 57 yards against them. Really, there's tons of receivers that have had very big fantasy days, multiple touchdown fantasy days. T. Higgins coming off a great day. We expect him to be elite, but even Tyler Boyd, I expect to bounce back from his last game. No Jamar Chase, no Joe Mixon. I expect a pretty concentrated target share for Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. Joe Burrow, I think, has a path to being the number 1 QB this week as well. It's probably going to be Mahomes, but Joe Burrow could get there. He was number 2 or number 1 last week. I have him as my number 3 QB this week, only behind Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. I have him ahead of Tua. So I like stacking him. I'm also going with the 2 chalk running backs. I assume these guys will be pretty chalky. That's Jeff Wilson against the dead last Texans run defense. He's the player prop of the day, over 82.5 rushing yards. The fact that his line is even at 82.5 tells you everything you need to know about Jeff Wilson. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards today. I think he scores a touchdown, at least one. They're 14.5-point favorites. They're 14.5-point favorites against the Texans. That bodes very well for Jeff Wilson with no Raheem Mostert in the lineup. I like Rachaad White as well. No Leonard Fournette in the lineup. I expect a lot of checkdowns, PPR format here for Rachaad White. I'm also going with Terry McLaurin against the Falcons. A little bit more nervous about that one. I think that's something you could tinker with the heavy rain pregame in that one. It could be a really tough field conditions, but obviously the Falcons secondary is one you want to target. I am paying up for Mark Andrews. I think you got to go Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. You got to go Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce on DraftKings and in FanDuel this week. They're just so far ahead of the rest of the tight ends. I like the price point for Andrews, though. I do think there's a chance at least Andrews can outscore Kelce. It's a little bit of a tough matchup against the Rams for Kelce, and also the Chiefs could really run away with that game. I'm a little nervous for the entire Chiefs offense this week because they might get too big of a lead, and the Rams offense might be able to just not move the ball at all. The Rams are basically playing with a preseason type team today. I mean, all backups for the Rams. No Matt Stafford, no Allen Robinson, no Cooper Kupp. They're starting running backs Kyren Williams, Cam Akers. Horrible offensive line, very injured offensive line. Defense is okay, but not against the Chiefs. They're not going to be able to stop the Chiefs. They're going to get crushed. I'm still taking them. I think they're plus 15.5. Like, that's just too many points, I think, in the NFL. But I'm a little nervous just for the whole Chiefs team. I still think you have to start all the Chiefs players, Mahomes, Kelce. Obviously, Pacheco can be started. I think it's actually a decent spot for Pacheco. But in general, if they get a 3-touchdown lead early third quarter, they might not play much in the fourth. That's sort of what I'm expecting from the Chiefs. So I'm a little nervous for them. And then, I am going the Chiefs defense, though. I mean, you got to play the Chiefs defense. Guys, you got to play. The Chiefs are the number 1 defense. Higbee out. Is this true? Is Higbee out? Let me see if we got this report. That would be news. That absolutely would be news. I guess it makes sense to hold out Higbee, considering you kind of already lost this game if you are the Rams. Bryce Perkins going to be starting for the Rams. I don't see a report that Higbee is out, and I think he is going to play. I think Higbee is playing. I do think he was questionable, though. Let me pull this up. And I think Higbee can be started if he's playing. He's questionable for week 12 with a knee injury, but he practiced on Thursday. He returned to practice on Thursday, so he seems like on the right side of questionable. I think he is going to play, but I haven't seen a report that he's not playing. It is possible Higbee doesn't play. But if Higbee plays, I think he's a top 7 option at tight end. There's no Allen Robinson. There's no Cooper Kupp. The Chiefs are going to score a lot of points. Someone has to get the targets for the Rams, and their running attack has been horrible all season. I don't trust Kyren Williams at all. I don't trust Cam Akers at all. I think Kyren Williams, though, does outtouch Cam Akers. Hey, Sam, should I put Ayuk in for A.J. Brown? No, I would not put Ayuk in for A.J. Brown, Godwin, or Kirk. Nope. Another league, have Kittle, Frymuth, and Everett. You got to go Kittle. It's between Kittle and Muth. It actually is kind of close, but I do think Kittle has just a little higher ceiling than Muth, generally speaking. Should I put Brian Robinson, James Robinson, or Pickens at flex? Yeah, that one's pretty close. I think I would go Pickens, though, over B-Rob and James Robinson. Do think he has a much higher ceiling than those guys. Rain and Browns game, should I worry? Yeah, so the game you should really be worried about is the Bears and Jets game. There's a decent amount of rain today, but it's the Bears-Jets game that's absolutely the worst. Very heavy rain in that game, and it's going to get worse as the game goes on. What I'm more worried about in that Browns game is the wind. Wind gusts over 25 miles an hour. There is going to be some rain in that game, which isn't going to help anything, but it's really the wind that I'm concerned about in that Buccaneers-Browns game. The Ravens and Jaguars also could have some sustained winds around 15 miles an hour, but I don't think they're going to have wind gusts in the 25-mile-an-hour range. The Broncos, Panthers, nothing to worry about in that game. Some people hyping up the weather in that game. I'm not too worried about the winds in that game. The other game, though, to be aware of, the Falcons and Commanders. That game, the worst of the weather sounds like it's going to happen before the game starts, but the field conditions might be really bad. Really heavy rain in Washington between the Falcons and Commanders in that game, too. So something to monitor there as well. But yeah, I'm not as nervous about the Bucs and Browns as I am about the Bears and Jets game. Again, the Bears-Jets game, I think, is going to be by far the worst weather of the day. Really heavy rains. Hey, Walter. We got a Hey, Walter here in the YouTube Live, non-PPR. Latavius Murray or James Conner. And in PPR, Rachaad White or Pittman. First of all, classic mistake. Don't worry about it. My name's Sam. I'm the CEO, founder of WalterPicks. Walter is an AI algorithm I helped build that powers the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android App Store. If you guys haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Link is in the YouTube description. Link is in the TikTok bio. It's completely free to download and try out. And all these start sit questions I'm seeing in the live stream can also be answered, or at least you can get some help with the answers from the WalterPicks app. Obviously, you're going to make your own decision at the end of the day, but the WalterPicks app can help you in giving you the right information to make that decision. Boom and bust probabilities for every single player. We have the best projections that you'll find out there, median projections, matchup ratings, everything you could need, all the stats you would want to look at, all in the WalterPicks app. Again, that's completely free. You can do as many start-sit comparisons as you want, and there's a 7-day free trial with all the premium stuff. All right. That's a classic mistake, though. Don't worry about it. I would play James Conner over Latavius Murray. It's just a better matchup for James Conner than it is Latavius Murray. James Conner gets the Chargers' second worst run defense in the league. Latavius Murray and the Broncos, not a horrible matchup for them against Carolina Panthers. They rank bottom 5 against running backs. Latavius Murray all by himself today. It's going to be him and Marlon Mack for the Broncos. I do think Latavius Murray has 15-plus carries well within his range of outcomes, but I think James Conner is better than him, and I think the Cardinals' offense is better, and I like the matchup better for James Conner. So I would go James Conner over Latavius Murray. Murray absolutely can be considered in a lot of situations. Then in PPR, Rachaad White or Michael Pittman. This one's super close. I really don't want to bench Rachaad White. I'm not going to lie, but I also don't really want to bench Michael Pittman. It's a really good matchup for Michael Pittman this week against the Steelers. Steelers secondary has been really bad this whole season. Let me actually pull up here in the PPR projections. We have Michael Pittman. I have Michael Pittman as a top 15 play, projecting for 15 points. I do think Rachaad White's just a little bit safer, though. I think he's a little bit safer. Yeah, I would go Rachaad White. I do have Rachaad White projecting more PPR points. And again, I'm expecting a lot of checkdowns to Rachaad White, a lot of good PPR checkdowns. If Fields is out, fire up Jets D. Justin Fields is out. That's already been confirmed. So yeah, you can fire up the Jets T. Even more so, boding well for the Jets defense, again, is the weather in this game. The weather in this Jets-Bears game is going to be brutally downpouring rain. Trevor Siemian and Mike White in a bad weather game. I mean, this game could be similar to the last Jets game, 3-3 in the fourth quarter type of situation here. Debo, Etienne, or Terry. Yeah, I think I would play Etienne over both Debo and Terry. I really like the high floor, high ceiling you're getting with an elite running back in Travis Etienne. Has a great chance to go over 100 yards every single week, and he's going to be involved in the passing game too. Rachaad White, Aaron Jones, Debo Samuel, start two. Please help. Thanks. Yeah, so again, I'm starting Rachaad White for sure here. For sure. I have Rachaad White pretty significantly farther ahead of my rankings than Aaron Jones this week. Let me pull up the running back rankings again. And then Aaron Jones or Debo Samuel, pretty close. I mean, you have to love what you saw to Debo in his last game after really having not a ton of usage since CMC arrived. Debo had 9 targets, had a few carries. Last game, 57 yards. I think he scored at least once, maybe twice in that game. The Cardinals also just weren't tackling him late in that game. But yeah, 22.4 points. He was the number 5 wide receiver last week. That was against the Cardinals, though. And this week, the 49ers, they're up against the Saints. No Marshawn Lattimore again. I still think I like Aaron Jones a little bit more. I still think I like Aaron Jones just a little bit more than Debo Samuel. Kind of a tough matchup for the Packers, but the Eagles' run defense actually has been pretty bad compared to their pass defense. Sam, in a PPR league, Michael Carter or Garrett Wilson at flex, and Noah Fant or Tyler Conklin at tight end. Yes, you got to go Fant over Conklin. And I think you go Michael Carter over Garrett Wilson this week, really specifically, Sean, because of the weather in this game. Again, this is the worst weather game of the day. We have the Bears playing the Jets in an absolutely downpouring game. That's not good news for Garrett Wilson. It's not good news for Tyler Conklin. And it's not good news for Elijah Moore or Corey Davis or Mike White. So yeah, I think you got to go Michael Carter in what should be a pretty run-heavy game script for the Jets. Palmer or Pickens, I'm okay going Josh Palmer over George Pickens this week. Kind of a tough matchup for Pickens. Josh Palmer with no Mike Williams, he should be out there a lot. We saw him look really good last week, starting to build some chemistry there with Justin Herbert. I've got a couple questions for you. Christian Watson or Garrett Wilson? Yeah, so I'm kind of out on both guys this week, Christian Watson and Garrett Wilson. I actually think we could add Garrett Wilson to my must-bench list, and you could add Elijah Moore and Corey Davis to that list as well because of the weather in that game. I think I would go Christian Watson. I like Christian Watson's ceiling a little bit more, even in a tough matchup. And then Juwan Johnson, Cole Kmet, or Trey McBride. I mean, just absolutely disgusting options here. Juwan Johnson, low-key, has been pretty good, though. Nobody's really talking about Juwan Johnson this season, but Juwan Johnson's been one of the better pieces of the Saints attack this season. Let me pull up his last game. He's had 3 straight games over 12 fantasy points for Juwan Johnson. He's been a top 8 tight end in 3 straight games. If you look at his last 5 games, he's been a top 8 tight end in 4 of his last 5 games. I mean, he's going over 20 points against the Cardinals because the Cardinals can't stop. I mean, a single tight end. I'm talking no tight ends have been stopped by the Cardinals this season. That bodes well for Gerald Everett today. But yeah, I think Juwan Johnson, honestly, might be the guy to go with here over Kmet and Trey McBride. I don't think Juwan Johnson's in my tight end rankings, though. I think Kmet is. It's close between him. I'm actually going to put Juwan Johnson here at number 15 because of the weather in that game. I'm going to move Kmet out of my top 15. We're going to move Juwan Johnson in. So yeah, we're going Juwan Johnson over Cole Kmet, over Trey McBride. I'm still not fully bought in on Trey McBride. He's been out there a lot. He's just not getting the target volume that you'd like to see, even with all the injuries to the pass catchers for the Cardinals. Rookie tight ends tend to really have slow starts. He only has 8 targets, guys, all season. He has 8 targets on the entire season. He had 4 targets last week, but 0 games for Trey McBride, over 6 points this season. He's playing obviously much more with Zach Ertz on the IR, but yeah, you gotta look elsewhere, I think, over Trey McBride. Hey, Sam, good morning. Must-win week. Yeah, it's a must-win week, Joe. All the rest of the weeks, these are must-win weeks. If you're not in the fantasy playoff picture yet, you got to get in the playoffs. This is what we've been saying all season. And some people, it's hard for them to wrap their head around this. Other people, it's obvious, but you got to optimize to get in the playoffs. That's all that matters, because if you're not in the playoffs, you can't win. And then once you're in the playoffs, you got to optimize for the playoffs and your team in the playoffs. Hopefully we all have been doing that. But yeah, should I flex Palmer, Marquise Brown, or Isaiah Pacheco? Yeah, so I'm a little out on Marquise Brown. The ceiling is definitely there for Marquise Brown in what could be kind of a high-scoring game against the Chargers. There's no Greg Dortch. There's no Zach Ertz in this game. And there's no Rondo Moore either. Those are like the next 3 best pass catchers on the Cardinals after DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown. But Marquise Brown's been out a while. And they did elevate a receiver from the practice squad. I'm not sure how much Marquise Brown's going to play. So there's some risk there. I think Marquise Brown's a low floor, high ceiling option. This week, I'm excited that he's coming back. He was really balling. But we also haven't seen him play with DeAndre Hopkins. And I do think Hopkins will out-target Marquise Brown. I think Palmer's honestly a little bit safer. And Pacheco's pretty safe too. I actually think I would go Isaiah Pacheco here over Josh Palmer, over Marquise Brown. Guys, the Chiefs are huge. I mean, huge favorites in this game. The Rams are trotting out a practice squad, basically, against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Rams we're already struggling with their starters. The practice squad guys that they have are not going to be very good. We got Bryce, who's starting for them at quarterback again. I'm even just blinking on his name. That's how bad and irrelevant he is likely going to be. Bryce Perkins. I was blanking on his last name. I had his first name down. Bryce Perkins starting for the Rams today over John Wolford, getting the start. He's fast, not a very good thrower of the ball. The Chiefs are 14.5 or 15-point favorites in this game. That bodes very well for Isaiah Pacheco, who's starting to slowly break out. No Clyde Edwards-Helaire again this week, and a huge favorite. You could easily see him getting another 15 carries. Unfortunately, though, he has been not involved in the passing game really at all. He's running routes, but he has 0 targets in his last 2 games, only 3 targets this entire season. For Isaiah Pacheco, that does really lower his ceiling in this offense. But yeah, in a game that they really should win pretty handedly, I do like Pacheco and his floor this week. I think he's a pretty good chance at over 100 yards. Hunt or Gus, full PPR? Yeah, so Gus Edwards back this week for the Ravens. You can't start Kareem Hunt at this point. I do think you got to go Gus over Kareem Hunt. I mean, Kareem Hunt's, I think Kareem Hunt's over-under rushing is under 30 yards. So that's pretty brutal. What's up, Sam? Dameon Pierce or Chris Olave in the flex? Yeah, so people kind of panicking all of a sudden about Dameon Pierce. He's sort of had a bad stretch all of a sudden. He's coming off his worst game of the season since really being the core starter. But he also did play close to 80% of the snaps, one of his high snap shares of the season last year. Of the season last week. But he only had 10 carries, only 2 catches, 12 touches, only 17 yards, only 3.7 PPR points. But I do think he's going to bounce back. I still think he has a high floor, a 10-plus point floor in almost every game he has a pretty good chance at 20-plus touches against the Dolphins. Chris Olave, though, let me pull up the matchup again really quickly for the Saints. Yeah, the Saints get the 49ers. Not a great matchup for him. They haven't been horrible against receivers. They haven't been great against receivers, but they've been really good against running backs. I think this one's super, super close. I'm okay going Dameon Pierce, though, playing it safe and going with Dameon Pierce. Again, I generally like leaning the running backs over receivers because they do have higher floors with just how they get their points and their touches. All right, Josh Jacobs or Jeff Wilson. I'm going Jeff Wilson over Josh Jacobs. Thoughts on the Jacobs injury? I'm still starting Josh Jacobs in almost all situations, but I am playing Jeff Wilson over Josh Jacobs. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It takes you 2 seconds, helps me out a ton. Also, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, hit the follow button, and come to the YouTube live because the link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio, and you get my top 15 rankings every position. You get my DraftKings lineup. You get all my picks against the spread, all just 100% free on the YouTube live. Campbell, Ayuk, or Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I think I'd go Ayuk of the bazooka over Garrett Wilson. I don't know if I'd go with him over Paris Campbell, though. It's a good match for Paris Campbell. Matt Ryan's been meshing with him pretty well. Campbell and Ayuk, I feel like Ayuk almost definitely projects better, but I actually think I might go Paris Campbell over Brandon Ayuk this week. Definitely concerned. Should I be concerned about Garrett Wilson with the rain? Yes, you definitely should be concerned about Garrett Wilson with the rain. I would have to start George Pickens or DJ Moore over him. Yeah, neither of them are in great spots this week too, but I really think you got to find other options over Garrett Wilson, over Corey Davis, over Elijah Moore. I don't think anyone's trusting Elijah Moore other than me last week, but you got to be benching Garrett Wilson. Yeah, this rain is going to be really, really impactful, I think. From what I've read, it's going to be really heavy rain that gets worse as the game goes on. So, and then on top of that, Mike White. And I know everyone's down on Zach Wilson, but Mike White is also really bad. So I'm not trusting Mike White either. I do think you should look elsewhere over Garrett Wilson. This week, I think it's going to be a really low-scoring, run-heavy game between the Bears and the Jets. Hey, Sam, Rashad White or Cortland Sutton, PPR. Yeah, Rob, we're not benching Rashad White this week. I like Cortland Sutton as much as anyone. I kind of like his prop over 60 yards with no Jerry Jeudy, no KJ Hamler again this week. But you got to start Rashad White. A lot of checkdowns for Rashad White incoming. No Leonard Fournette. Giovanni Bernard might mix in, but it's going to be Rashad White at the goal line. It's going to be Rashad White getting the majority of the snaps in a game where there could be wind gusts over 25 miles an hour in that Buck game too. There could be even more checkdowns for that reason. Sam, my guy, love the app and content. Thanks, Matt. A few questions, please. Lat Murray or Keenan, Komet, Conklin, or Taysom PPR. So yeah, this one honestly pretty easy for me personally, and I could end up being wrong, obviously. But for me right now, I'm going Keenan Allen over Latavius Murray pretty easily. Keenan Allen looked great last week. He played over 60% of the snaps. I think that's his floor this week. If he was able to do that last week, there's no Mike Williams again, and the Cardinals haven't been the greatest secondary this season. I really like Keenan. A very high floor, high ceiling play. Latavius Murray, I think his floor is okay. I don't know what his true ceiling is in that Broncos offense, though. I think Latavius Murray, he can be started in a lot of spots. He should get 15 plus carries this week. But yeah, I like Keenan much more, especially in a PPR format. And then I'm going Taysom Hill over Cole Kmet, over Tyler Conklin. I think Cole Kmet needs to be benched this week. Again, with that Bears-Jets rain, not feeling good about Cole Kmet with Trevor Siemian. And Tyler Conklin, same thing. He's in that same game against the Bears. Horrible, horrible rain. Not feeling good about Tyler Conklin. Taysom, meanwhile, is coming off a season-high snap percentage. Taysom Hill's ceiling is just so much higher than Conklin and Kmet this week. I mean, Taysom, he could see 10 carries. No, the tight end is getting 10 carries. He could throw, Taysom Hill could have 10 carries and a couple passing attempts. And that makes him better than basically every single tight end not named Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. So yeah, I think you got to go Taysom. I have him ranked as my number 10 tight end this week because obviously the floor is still really low for Taysom Hill. But yeah, I'm okay starting Taysom Hill. I actually think there's a lot worse you could do than Taysom Hill this week. Hey, Sam, need your help here. Would you start Godwin or David Montgomery in a PPR league? Yeah, so this is a ceiling floor conversation here too. I personally would go David Montgomery. I think it is a really high floor in this really rainy game between the Bears and the Jets. The Jets' run defense has been pretty solid this season, but with no Khalil Herbert, David Montgomery is one of the true workhorse backs in the NFL right now. He's going to play 80% of the snap. He's going to see over 80% of the touches in his backfield. So I like him. I like him for that reason. He had 17 carries, 3 catches last week. That's 20 touches. That's elite volume for running backs. He had over 20 points against the Falcons last week. Tougher matchup for him this week, but I think he could easily get 20-plus touches. So, yeah, I would go David Montgomery over Chris Godwin. Hey, Sam, Pittman or Godwin? Please help. You got to go Pittman. You can't bench Pittman this week. Too good of a matchup for Pittman against the Steelers. With Matt Ryan back, too, that's great for Michael Pittman. I do think he is in must-start territory. I have him ranked number 8 this week. I'm not starting very many receivers over Michael Pittman this week. Watson or Montgomery? That's Christian Watson It's got to be Montgomery. I'm kind of out on Christian Watson. Why start Taysom Hill? So I like Taysom Hill because he played a season-high snap percentage last week. And it seems like the Saints are starting to realize that he is one of the core and most reliable pieces on their offense. He had a really quiet few weeks over the last month. But yeah, last week, it sounds like they are going to, like they felt like they were underutilizing Taysom. And yeah, he had 3 passing attempts for 14 yards, 9 carries for 52 yards. Guys, he threw the ball 3 times and had 9 carries. And you get to play him at tight end. I mean, it really is a cheat code. He had 7.5 points. But yeah, if he's going to run the ball close to 10 times, he has a better floor and a way, way higher ceiling than almost every other tight end. So yeah, that's why I like Taysom Hill. I do think he really can be started in a lot of spots. I still have him only ranked number 10. Like there's 9 tight ends I would strongly consider over Taysom Hill. But after that, like you got to go Taysom. The ceiling is really, really high, given the way he's being used. Rachaad White or Miles Sanders, half PPR. Yeah, so half PPR makes this much closer. Josh, and if this was non-PPR, I actually think I might say Miles Sanders. I'm pretty bullish on Miles Sanders this week against the Packers. I think their run defense has been really bad, dealing with a lot of injuries. The Packers secondary much better than their run defense. But I'm still going Rachaad White in a half PPR format. I really like the workload for Rachaad White today. I think he's going to get a lot of checkdowns. Good chance at a touchdown. I'm okay going Rachaad White over Miles Sanders. Pull up my running back rankings one more time on the YouTube live. I have Rachaad White ranked number 6. These are PPR rankings though, and Miles Sanders ranked number 15. I think those two guys are closer in half PPR and maybe even swapped in non-PPR. And that's one of the biggest things, guys, that I struggle with in these lives is answering it for the right scoring setting. So I appreciate you letting me know it's half PPR, but that's also why you got to go check out the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. It's one of the few apps out there that's free to download, and it will account for your custom league settings, your scoring settings, and your roster settings. So there's very few tools out there, especially mobile apps, that can do that. Again, it's completely free. It's the number one way you can support me too, is checking out the app that I've helped build over the last 3 years. So check that out in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. All right. Let's get to my picks against the spread. Let me get to this question from George in the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. On the YouTube live, you got my top 15 rankings, every single position, 100% completely free. Like most of the questions I'm seeing in the TikTok live right now are just answered just by coming to the YouTube live. Again, that's right in the TikTok bio. All right, let's get to this question here from George in the YouTube live. I will get to some TikTok comments in just a moment as well. Who should I start for my two wide receivers? You got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith. Yeah, so first off, you got to start Pittman. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings again. You got to start Pittman over all of these guys. And I would say Mike Evans / Chris Godwin pretty fast usually. But there could be wind gusts in this Buccaneers game over 25 miles an hour. It's absolutely something to call out. I've done research on weather in the NFL, and wind over 25 miles an hour, that is very concerning. It's extremely hard to throw an accurate deep ball with wind over 25 miles an hour. That's not going to be sustained wind, though. It's just going to be some wind gusts. The sustained wind is going to be close to 15 miles an hour. So they might be able to throw still. There also could be some rain in that game, though, so it has me a little bit more nervous about Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I actually think I lean towards Chris Godwin just slightly over Mike Evans. I have them back-to-back in my rankings, but I think Godwin runs a little bit more of those intermediary routes than Mike Evans does. I think that could bode well for him today. So I would go Chris Godwin and Michael Pittman here. But yeah, generally speaking, really good elite options here you're choosing from. I would not Smith over any of these guys, though. Pick one full PPR. Michael Carter, Foreman, DeMarcus Robinson. Yeah, you got to go Michael Carter. I think you go Carter over Foreman. It's between Carter and Foreman, though. I do not want anything to do with DeMarcus Robinson. I know he did look good last week, but he's still playing less than Devin Duvernay. I would play Rachaad White over Tyler Boyd. I like Boyd this week, but I'm not nearly as much as I like Rachaad White. All right, let's pull my picks against the spread here. We're 53% against the spread this season. There's a lot of underdogs here with just getting too many points. I like the Jaguars plus 3.5 against the Ravens. I do think there's a chance the Jaguars win this game. The Ravens offense has not been as elite as I was expecting this season. Lamar has really cooled off since week 2 and week 3. We have not seen a big Lamar Jackson passing game since Rashad Bateman's been out. So I'm a little nervous for the Ravens in general, but I don't feel strongly about that game against the spread. I'm also taking the Bengals -1. I like that one a decent amount against the Titans. I think Joe Burrow cooks today. That's why I'm playing Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd in my DraftKings lineup today. They're 1-point favorites against the Titans. Titans have looked really good recently, but I think the Bengals offense can really torch this Titans secondary. Also, though, a little nervous for Joe Burrow against one of the sack leading defenses. The Texans, 14-point underdogs against the Dolphins. I am taking the points there, but very nervous about betting on the Texans today against the Dolphins. The Falcons plus 3.5. I think the Falcons have a very good chance to win this game today. There is some weather to monitor there too, but it sounds like the worst of it's going to be before the game. But I do think the Falcons can beat the Commanders. But the Commanders are slight favorites at home, so I'm going with the Falcons there. I'm also going with the Bears plus 7. Honestly, that might be my favorite spread of the day. I know Justin Fields is not playing, but this game's going to have absolutely horrible, horrible weather. And I don't think Mike White just absolutely turns around this Jets offense. I think Mike White is maybe just as bad or just a little bit better than what Zach Wilson was. And in downpouring rain, I don't have any confidence in the Jets offense. I think the Bears could easily win that game, even without Justin Fields. I'm going with the Broncos -1, Bucks -3.5, Seahawks -4. I do like the Seahawks against the Raiders. I think this might be the first time I picked the Seahawks all season, though, so they'll probably let me down. Chargers -3. I like that one, too, against the Cardinals. Marquise Brown's back, but they're dealing with all sorts of injuries. It's going to be really interesting to see Kyler in his first game back, too. I do like the 49ers, -9. The Rams, +15.5. It's just so many points against the Chiefs. Don't feel great about that one either, though. And then the Eagles, -6.5. I do like that one a decent amount. Steelers, +2.5 against the Colts, like that as well. Guys, we will be live for the next couple hours, breaking down start sit decisions, what I think is going to happen in each game, some of the important weather to monitor. We'll talk about DraftKings lineups and some of the strategy there. Got a free player prop for you all as well. But make sure you hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, too, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. Lots to get to. Again, the weather, though, you really need to be aware of today. It's in that Bears-Jets game. Downpour rain in the Bears-Jets game, in a game that already was going to be gross offensively. Murray or Rashad? Got to be Rashad over Murray. First of all, he's a way better receiver. Playing with a quarterback that we can trust much more to throw to the receiver, you got to start Rashad White. I have him as a top 8 running back. This week, he slides in at number 6 for me in my running back PPR rankings. Again, check out the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android App Store to get projections and boom and bust probabilities and matchup ratings custom to your league settings, your scoring settings and roster settings. But in PPR, it absolutely has to be Rashad White over Latavius Murray. Pirine or Pacheco? Yeah, I'm going Pacheco over Pirine. Again, I don't think Pirine is a must start. I think he's a fringe start in really dire situations because Pirine's not good. I mean, he's just straight up not a very good football player. It really limits his ceiling. I think Chris Evans is going to play a decent amount on the passing downs. I don't think it's going to be Pirine just coming in and taking the Joe Mixon workload. I'd say I'm most concerned about Pirine. He did play 65% of the snaps, 11 carries, 4 targets in Joe Mixon's absence, and he scored 3 touchdowns against the Steelers. He's not scoring another 3 touchdowns, guys. 30 points for Samaje Perine last game. I think he's a little bit of a trap. I do like Pacheco more, and Pacheco's also a 15.5-point favorite. The Chiefs are 15.5-point favorites against the Rams, so that bodes pretty well for Pacheco seeing at least 15 carries. Hey, Sam, hope you're having a good day. Pat, man, it's been a great day. It's going to continue to be a great day because we got football all day long in just a few hours. So shout out to you, Pat. Hopefully you're having a good day too. Pick 2, Gibson, Najee, White. Yeah, it's Najee and White. It's pretty easily Najee and White. Gibson's in a good matchup against the Falcons. Gibson, I do like more than Brian Robinson. I think Gibson has some exciting upside, but not as much of a floor as Najee and White. Najee coming off his best game of the season, really his best 2 games of the season, and there's no Jaylen Warren to steal touches. He's going to see 80% plus of the snaps for the Steelers. And against a defense, too, that's much worse against the run than they are against the pass. So Najee, 20-plus touches incoming, maybe 25-plus touches for Najee. Gibson's not getting 25-plus touches. Rashad White also just needs to be started with no Leonard Fournette. There's also some wind and rain potentially in that Buccaneers game. Could be a really heavy check-down game for Tom Brady. Rashad White, 99th percentile receiver in college. I'm really excited to see Rashad White breakout game today. I got to sit 1, Najee, James Conner, Rashad White, and Aaron Jones. Yeah, it's between James Conner and Aaron Jones here. I think I have Aaron Jones. Ahead of James Conner. I don't. I have James Conner 1 spot ahead of Aaron Jones. It's super close. I mean, both decent matchups. I do think James Conner likely outtouches Aaron Jones. Is really close, though. But the matchup for James Conner is absolutely better against the Chargers. Second worst run defense, only after the Texans. So, yeah, I think I would go James Conner. I'd bench Aaron Jones. All right, let's get to some more of these rankings. Let's pull up the tight end rankings again. Again, probably the guy I'm highest on compared to what other people would probably rank is Taysom Hill. I have him ranked number 10 this week. I think his ceiling is extremely, extremely high. He had a season high snap percentage last week, 9 carries, 3 passing attempts. That if he gets 9 carries and 3 passing attempts this week, I mean, he might be a top 5 tight end play. I mean, the ceiling is just so high. If he can score a touchdown and throw for some yards, I mean, the tight end position is such a desolate wasteland again this season. All right, hey Sam, Tua or Burrow? Yeah, so I have Burrow 1 spot ahead of Tua. Let me pull up my QB rankings again. The QB situation's kind of tough this week. Really, after the top 7, top 5 maybe, like you're starting to get into some sketchy QBs this week. I think Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, kind of in their own tier. Tua and Lamar and Justin Herbert, Geno Smith even maybe he's in that next tier. I don't know how much I can trust Kyler coming off the hamstring injury, though it does sound like he's fully healthy. So maybe I'm sleeping on him just a little bit. But yeah, you got to start Joe Burrow. You have to start Joe Burrow against this Titans secondary. The Titans secondary is absolutely one to pick on in fantasy. They are allowing the third most fantasy points per game to wide receivers this season. They're allowing the seventh most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this season. We just saw Aaron Frogers, as I like to call him, have a decent game on Thursday night. Russell Wilson had one of his better games against them a couple weeks ago. Patrick Mahomes threw for 446 yards against them not too long ago as well. That was their last 3 games. They've let up at least 15 fantasy points to basically every single good quarterback that they played, and I would put Joe Burrow under that category. So yeah, you got to feel good about Joe Burrow. He's also Joe Burrow coming off a week where he was the number 1 quarterback last week. So yeah, you got to feel really good about Burrow. That's why he has my number 3 QB, only behind Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. He threw for 355 yards, 4 TDs against the Steelers without Jamar Chase. And no Jamar Chase again today, but also no Joe Mixon. That could mean even more passing attempts for Joe Burrow. Yeah, so you got to start Joe Burrow. I feel really good about him. That's why I'm starting Joe Burrow in my DraftKings lineup. I'm feeling actually really strong about this DraftKings lineup today. I'm paying down a little bit at quarterback. I really like the price for Joe Burrow on DraftKings, stacking him with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Again, there's no Jamar Chase. There's no Joe Mixon. Boyd and Higgins should pretty clearly be the top options for the Bengals in a really good matchup against the Titans. Again, the Titans allowing the 3rd most fantasy points per game to receivers, the 7th most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. And there's not super risky weather in this game too, like there is in some of the other games across the slate. I'm going with Jeff Wilson and Rachaad White too. And this is really chalky, but I think it's good chalk this week. Jeff Wilson, by chalk, I mean just guys that other people are likely going to play. The public is very on Jeff Wilson and Rachaad White, but for good reason. Jeff Wilson's over under today, 82.5 rushing yards. I think he crushes that line against the Texans with no Raheem Mostert. Jeff Wilson, 20 plus carries against the Texans, huge favorites against the Texans. Really like Jeff Wilson. I like Rachaad White. Check down Rachaad White today too. I think he gets at least 5 catches in this game. Like he has that well within his range of outcomes. He could have a 10 catch game. Like we've seen that from Leonard Fournette with how much Brady checks it down in a game that could be windy and rainy as well. I really like Rachaad White seeing 20 plus touches today. I think he's extremely talented, really good receiver. So I like him a lot against the Browns. I am going with Terry McLaurin. I'm a little bit scared about that one because the field conditions in the Commanders-Falcons game might not be great. It's going to be absolutely downpouring before that game too, but that weather's supposed to be better as the game goes on. Terry McLaurin's just seen so much consistency in his usage since Heineke has taken over. That's why I do like a Scary Terry a decent amount. But the weather does have me just a tiny bit concerned for that game. Let me pull up the numbers for Scary Terry here. But yeah, Terry McLaurin, he's over under 60.5 receiving yards. He has at least 7 targets in 5 straight games. He's averaging 72 yards per game this season, and he gets the Falcons, who are allowing the most yards per game to receivers this season. So yeah, you gotta like Terry McLaurin's matchup. But in general, the weather maybe will give him a slightly lower ownership percentage, adds more risk. I'm going with Mark Andrews too. I'm running back Treylon Burks against the Bengals too. I think Treylon Burks, very quiet breakout game. Quiet breakout game for Treylon Burks last week, over 100 yards. I mean, what part of that came on the very last play of the game, where instead of running the ball out, they threw it 40 yards down the field against the Packers. But yeah, you got to feel good about Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks has more talent than people realize because he just hasn't played very much this season. He's only played in 6 games, and he seems like he's back to full health. Last week, he still only played 55% of the snaps, only ran 18 routes, but had 8 targets. 8 targets, a season high, career high, 8 targets, 7 catches, 111 yards. He's the most talented receiver on the Titans. And again, I think the Bengals smacked them offensively. It's supposed to be a close game, though. So yeah, I like Treylon Burks a lot. I like the Chiefs defense as well against the Rams practice squad that they're playing today. Latavius Murray or Tyler Lockett, PPR. Yeah, I'm going Lockett for sure over Murray. Latavius Murray, Samaje Perine, like these guys should get a lot of touches today, but they're not good. And they're not in obvious workhorse situations because they're not good. So I'm a little nervous for Latavius Murray and Samaje Perine. They both can be considered. I like Murray more than Perine, but I like Lockett considerably more than both of them against the Raiders. Good spot for Lockett. And we know Lockett's got that ceiling, but Lockett has also had a low-key high floor this year too. I mean, Lockett's been one of the best fantasy assets you can have. I feel good about him and DK Metcalf this week. Both of them are in my top 15 wide receiver rankings. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. Come to the YouTube Live. You get my top 15 rankings, every single position on the YouTube Live. It answers so many start sits I'm already seeing in the TikTok Live. Like Tua or Herbert, I'm seeing that in the TikTok Live. If you come to the YouTube Live, I literally have my top 15 QBs scrolling across the screen, and you'll see I have Tua ranked number 4 and Justin Herbert ranked number 6. So there's just one example of why you got to come to the YouTube Live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio, by the way. All right, pick 2 here from Isaac. Boyd, Brown, Carter, or Campbell. Yeah, I think you got to go Boyd. And honestly, this one is between Marquise Brown and Paris Campbell. I'm not starting DeAndre Carter. I think Josh Palmer is pretty clearly the number 2 guy. I think Gerald Everett against the Cardinals would do pretty well too. They have not stopped a single tight end this whole season. We've said that literally 11 straight weeks, and it just continues to be true. The Cardinals can't stop tight ends. I don't know what it is. It's like they forget how to tackle against tight ends. They just don't cover them. George Kittle went basically untouched on a few of his big plays against them last week. But yeah, I think you got to start Boyd for sure. I think Marquise Brown, his ceiling is intriguing, but honestly, I think Paris Campbell's safer than Marquise Brown. Again, I have Marquise Brown as must bench this week only because there's just risk with him coming off the injury. And I've been wrong about some of this season. It's obviously tough to get a feel on some of these injuries when they haven't played for so long. If Marquise Brown plays over 60% of the snaps today, you're going to want to have played Marquise Brown. I'm just not so sure he's going to play a full workload. They did elevate some practice squad players, but Greg Dortch is out, Rondale Moore's out, Zach Ertz is out. So Marquise Brown theoretically is the number 2 receiver. Obviously, Hopkins will command most of the targets, though, for the Cardinals. But yeah, I think I'm okay playing Marquise Brown over Paris Campbell. I'd for sure play Marquise Brown over DeAndre Carter. Over Devontae Smith and Tyler Boyd. No, I would play Tyler Boyd over Marquise Brown. I would play Tyler Boyd over Devontae Smith. The Packers secondary has been pretty strong this season. Gus Edwards or P. Ryan. I would play P. Ryan over Gus Edwards. Happy PR. Thanks, Sam. God bless. Yeah, so I'm nervous for P. Ryan's floor, but I do think he touches the ball more than Gus Edwards and has a much better chance at catches than Gus Edwards. Lamar very rarely throws to Gus Edwards. David Montgomery or Dameon Pierce. Yeah, you got to go Monty. Got to go Monty over Dameon Pierce this week in the worst weather game of the day. David Montgomery's pretty locked into 20-plus touches today against the Jets, and the Jets' run defense has been pretty solid. Probably a better run defense than the Dolphins. But David Montgomery's in a workhorse role, even more so than Dameon Pierce with no Khalil Herbert. I do think David Montgomery's a must start in most spots. I have him ranked number 11 running back this week. Why bench Kmet? Because the weather in this Bears-Jets game, you have to bench Kmet. You have to bench Darnell Mooney. You have to bench Garrett Wilson. You have to bench Elijah Moore. You have to bench Tyler Conklin. You have to bench Corey Davis. All of these, already pretty sketchy fantasy options, if we're being honest, are even like 10 times more sketchy this week. Downpouring rain in this Bears-Jets game that's going to be coming worse and worse and worse to like almost tsunami type levels. That's maybe a little dramatic, but like very, very, very heavy rain in this Bears-Jets game. There's going to be some wind as well. And this is the one game that I'm most nervous about too, because the weather's going to get worse as the game gets on. Most of these games, the weather's actually going to like kind of improve and there's going to be less rain, less wind as the games go on. There's a lot of rainy, windy games today, but this Bears-Jets game is not going to be like that. Not the Northeast weather that we're getting in New York today between the Bears and the Jets. So yeah, I'm benching Cole Kmet. I'm benching Tyler Conklin. I'm benching Garrett Wilson. I'm benching Elijah Moore, Corey Davis. I want nothing to do with these quarterbacks, either Trevor Siemian and Mike White. I think this whole game's a stay away outside of David Montgomery, who is going to see 80% of the work in this Bears backfield. I think Michael Carter can be considered, but James Robinson will mix in too. Those are the only 2 guys really I think you can think about in this game. We could see we could see another Jets game that's like 3-3 in the fourth quarter. All right, Tyler Boyd, Chris Godwin, or Dameon Pierce. Yeah, Matt, I think I would go Tyler Boyd here too. Again, it's a good matchup against the Titans. I think I have Chris Godwin ranked ahead of Boyd though. Like it would be Chris Godwin if it was not for the weather. Yeah, you got to go Godwin. You still have to go Godwin over Boyd. It's close. It's close because of the weather. If there was no weather, though, it's pretty obviously Chris Godwin. I still think you go Godwin. Boyd can really be considered here as a safer option than Godwin. I think Godwin's ceiling's probably a little higher, but the Titans secondary, guys, it's bad. It's a bad secondary. Really good for Joe Burrow. That's why I'm playing Tyler Boyd in my DraftKings lineup this week. I am okay going with Chris Godwin over Tyler Boyd, though. Again, we got to get a little bit more clarity and updates on this weather report for the Bucs, but it sounds like the worst of the weather is going to be in the beginning of the game in this Buccaneers-Browns game. Scattered showers in the Buccaneers and Cleveland game. It could be late arriving, but yeah, we got to check the radar's all over the place. It sounds like in this Browns game, but there's going to be sustained 10 to 15 miles an hour wind and gusts over 25 miles an hour. Especially at the same time as the rain. Doesn't sound like it might be the whole game though. So yeah, really weird spot weather-wise for this Buccaneers-Browns game. Does have me a little bit more nervous about Godwin and Evans, but I still think I'd start Godwin over Tyler Boyd. Gibson or Monty, I think I'd go Monty over Gibson. Is Chase playing? No, Jamar Chase is out. Let me pull up this list here. There's a lot of guys out. We got Leonard Fournette out, Joe Mixon out, Jamar Chase out, Justin Fields out, Mike Williams is out, Matt Stafford is out, Raheem Mostert's out, Allen Robinson's out, Kyle Pitts, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler out, Greg Dortch out, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz out, Jalen Warren is out, Isaiah Likely's out, Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire are out. So many injuries to be aware of today. Luckily, we have pretty much all of them reported already. But yeah, a lot of guys that you need to be aware of. And as the season goes on, I say this pretty much every week, but as the season goes on, understanding and being aware of the injuries and how they're going to impact these teams is probably the biggest edge you can get out there in fantasy football these days. Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller out. Romeo Doubs, Darrell Henderson, Russell Gage also out. Here's my must-bench players. Christian Watson. I want nothing to do with Christian Watson this week. He's having a breakout last couple of games, 5 touchdowns over his last 2 games. I was very in on him last week, but that was because he was playing the Titans. That's why I'm in on the Bengals passing attack. Partially why I'm in on the Bengals passing attack today. And it's a much worse matchup for Christian Watson against the Eagles. Darius Slay. I feel like Christian Watson is a poor man's Gabe Davis. I view him as a slightly worse version of Gabe Davis. Aaron Rodgers is obviously a much worse option than Josh Allen. I think Gabe Davis is similar in the sense that they are boom bust options. They're probably not going to get more than 5 catches in the game, but they don't need more than 5 catches to have 100 yards and multiple touchdowns. Like, that's the type of player I think Christian Watson is. I like Allen Lazard more this week, though. I think Christian Watson is pretty risky. I'm also pretty nervous about Marquise Brown in his first game back. There's a lot going in his direction with Greg Dortch out, Rondale Moore out, and Zach Ertz out. But his first game back in a while, he I feel like is a little ahead of his initial timeline with his injury. You got to assume he's healthy. If he's playing, he's had over a 90% snap share, though, in every single game that he's played. Will he see that full workload today in his first game back? I'm just not so sure. If you feel confident that he's going to be playing out there in his normal role, though, you got to start Marquise Brown because his ceiling is really high. We also haven't seen Marquise Brown play with DeAndre Hopkins, so there's a little bit of uncertainty there as well. All right. Would you trade Mark Andrews and Stevenson for Kelsey? No, I wouldn't do that. I think Mark Andrews is close enough to Kelsey that I would not want to give Stevenson away. But I guess if he's on your bench, Dominic, it's a fair deal. And I would prefer Kelsey over Andrews, so it's not horrible. Good morning, Sam. Who should I play, Greg Dulcich or Juwan? And also Jeff Wilson or Dave Montgomery? Yeah, I'm playing Jeff Wilson over D-Mont. Easy. Jeff Wilson has to be started against the Texans. Dead last run defense. They're 15-point favorites, and there's no Raheem Mostert. I mean, everything lining up for Jeff Wilson to completely smash this week. I think he goes over 100 yards. He's actually the free player prop of the day. I'm going over 82.5 rushing yards with Jeff Wilson. And then Dolce versus Juwan. It's close. I think I would go Dolce, though, over Juwan Johnson. I'll pull up my tight end rankings here at the bottom of the YouTube Live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. So many of your comments are just answered immediately by just coming to the YouTube Live. You get my top 15 rankings every position. You get my DraftKings lineup, my picks against the spread. Basically, anything you could possibly need is like scrolling on the bottom of the screen on the YouTube Live. So come to the YouTube Live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. All right. P. Ryan, Carter, or Sutton. Yeah, I'm going Sutton over P. Ryan, over Carter. I'd rank these guys Sutton, then P. Ryan, then Carter. I think it's close, but yeah, I think I like Sutton much more than these other 2 options. There's no Jerry Jeudy. There's no KJ Hamler. He's still the pretty clear top option for Russ. Good chance at a touchdown. Good chance at some deep targets. So I don't hate it at all. Good morning, Sam. Hope all is well, and you hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks, Kylo. Hope you did too. Let's have a great Sunday with some wins today. Absolutely. Pick one. Dalton or Matt Ryan. I pick one. White, P. Ryan, Sanders, and receivers. Yeah, so you got to go Rashad White over P. Ryan and Sanders. I do like Sanders. I don't like P. Ryan. I love Rashad White. One wide receiver, Evans and Boyd. Yeah, you got to go Evans over Boyd. Evans and Godwin, I'm playing them both over Boyd, but the only reason I'm hesitant a little bit about that is the weather in the Bucs game. I still think Evans over Boyd makes sense, though, even though Boyd has a really good matchup against the Titans. And then Dalton or Ryan, I don't think either of those guys are in my top 15 QBs. Let me pull up my top 15 QBs up on the YouTube Live. Again, you can find that right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. Let me pull my QB rankings, though. I guess Matt Ryan does get the Steelers. That's a pretty good matchup for him. Yeah, I would go Matt Ryan. I would go Matt Ryan over Andy Dalton this week. Evans or Olave. Yeah, I think it's Evans still over Olave. I do. I think it's Evans over Olave. Pacheco or Sanders. Yeah, so I'm playing Miles Sanders over Pacheco. I like both this week. Pacheco's a big favorite. Obviously, 15-plus point favorite against the Rams. The Rams are literally throwing out a practice squad team today against the Chiefs. And even the starting team for the Rams would have got crushed by the Chiefs. And the practice squad team is going to get, annihilated by the Chiefs. I'm still taking the Rams plus 15.5 because it's just so many points. But yeah, we got Bryce Perkins starting. We got no Matt Stafford. We got no Cooper Kupp. We got no Allen Robinson. Tyler Higbee's questionable. We got no Darrell Henderson. Kyron Williams and Cam Akers behind a horrible offensive line. I mean, it's gonna be bad out there for the Rams offense. You got to start Chiefs defense for sure. It's good for Pacheco, but I still like Miles Sanders more against the Packers. The Packers run defense, kind of a run funnel defense for the Packers. Secondary's been good. Run defense has been bad. Good morning. Should I flex Lockett or Montgomery? Good morning, Brian. I like Lockett, man. I really like Lockett and Metcalf a lot against this Raiders secondary. Usually, I'd say play it safe and go Monty, who's going to see 20-plus touches, I think, in a really bad weather game against the Jets. But Tyler Lockett's ceiling is much higher than Montgomery's, I think. And his floor is not that far off either. I'm okay going Lockett and Metcalf over a lot of these elite running back options today. I have Lockett ranked number 10 and Metcalf ranked number 9 in my receiver rankings. Today, again, you can see my top 15 rankings on the YouTube live. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. Higbee or Evans? You gotta go Evans over Higbee. I'm assuming that's Mike Evans. Jeff Wilson or Pacheco. You guys got to start Jeff Wilson. Let's run through again, just really quickly. The guys you got to start. You got to start these guys. You got to start Jeff Wilson against the Texans. Dead last run defense in the league. Jeff Wilson with no Raheem Mostert. I mean, he is going to see 20-plus carries today. He's going to go over 100 rushing yards, I think. I'm taking him over 82.5 rushing yards pretty confidently. You got to start Rachaad White with no Leonard Fournette in a game that's going to be rainy and windy. You got to feel good about Rachaad White. I also think you got to feel good about Tyler Boyd against the Titans. I'm playing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin over him still, despite the weather in that game. But Boyd is in a really good spot. I also like Courtland Sutton with no Jerry Jeudy, no KJ Hamler again. I like Tyler Higbee if he plays, but we don't know if he's for sure playing yet. But yeah, there's no Cooper Kupp. There's no Allen Robinson. So you got to feel pretty good about Tyler Higbee and his role against the Chiefs, even with Bryce Perkins starting. I like Miles Sanders a lot. I like Antonio Gibson, David Montgomery, and I like Taysom Hill as a sneaky tight end option. For those of you that can play him at tight end, he had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts last week, season high 55% snap share for Taysom Hill last week. I think he's going to continue to be very involved. Rachaad White or Montgomery. I'm going Rachaad White easily over Montgomery in a PPR league. Half PPR, I think it's closer, but I still go Rachaad White. Non-PPR, that's really close. I still think I'd go Rachaad White non-PPR, but it's extremely, extremely close. But PPR, you got to go Rachaad White. And again, I can't always account for all your scoring settings in these live streams. Sometimes they're not even included in the questions you guys are asking, which they should be. PPR, half PPR, non-PPR will affect some of my answers. But that's why the best place to go for insights into start-sit decisions is the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app store. I've spent the last 3 years of my life helping build the app. You can see it in the YouTube description, or the link to it's in the YouTube description and the TikTok bio. It's completely free to download and try out. You can do as many start-sit comparisons as you want. And again, it accounts for your custom scoring settings and your custom roster settings. Like if you're starting 4 running backs, like it's going to account for that in the trade analyzer too, in the WalterPicks app. So definitely check that out. All right. So what do you think about this FanDuel line? Burrow, Jeff Wilson, Rachaad White, Boyd, Debo, Ayuk, Everett, Kelsey for flex and Bengals. Yeah, I don't love going Debo and Ayuk. And I'm assuming this is a tournament lineup. I would choose one. You're sort of betting against yourself a little bit. I think stacking Debo and Ayuk, Kittle, CMC, and Elijah Mitchell, all pretty involved in that offense. Even Juwan Johnson probably will be a little bit involved. I don't like playing both of them. I play one of them. I feel a little bit better about Debo than Ayuk, but I'm sure Ayuk is much cheaper. And I don't like playing 2 tight ends either. Don't start Everett and Kelsey. Just go Kelsey. Find a cheaper option at flex. I would try to look for Treylon Burks. Not sure what his FanDuel price is. And at defense, don't hate the Bengals defense at all, but I really think you got to go Chiefs defense or Jets defense or Bears defense. Again, the rain is going to be really intense. The rain is going to be very intense in this Bears-Jets game, and it's going to get worse as the game goes on. But the Chiefs defense is playing a practice squad Rams team, and the starting Rams team was already bad. So the practice squad Rams team can't be very good. So yeah, you got to feel pretty good about the Chiefs defense this week. Pierce or Brandon Cooks? I would go Pierce over Brandon Cooks. Why bench Watson? Because it's a much worse matchup for Watson than he's had the last couple of weeks. Much worse matchup for Watson than he's had the last couple of weeks. I think Watson's floor is just extremely low. Gabe Davis level floor. Like he's probably not going to have more than 5 catches in this game. Start 2, Juju, Sutton, Cooper. Thank you. Yeah, I think Juju and Sutton are the way to go here. The Browns game has a little bit of sketchy weather too. They're playing the Bucks. I've been, I think, maybe sleeping a little bit too much on Amari Cooper this season. But the weather's enough for me to feel better about Juju and Sutton over Amari Cooper. Gibson or Miles Sanders? This one's close. I like both guys. I have them both as must starts this week. I have Miles Sanders ranked number 15 though, and I have Antonio Gibson, I think ranked in the 16, either 16 or 17. So I think I'd go Miles Sanders. If this is a PPR league though, I think Gibson might have a slight edge. He's been seeing all the J.D. McKissick work with J.D. McKissick out. He gets the Falcons. Pretty good matchup for him too. So I'm okay going Gibson in PPR. Half PPR, I think I would go Sanders. And non-PPR, I absolutely would go Sanders. Good spot for Sanders. I think Sanders has a pretty good chance to go over 100 yards against the Packers run funnel defense this week too. Good morning, Sam. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, man. Start 3, Chubb, Montgomery, Rachaad White, or Mike Evans. Yeah, no, I've seen no Nick Chubb questions up to this point, and it's a bad spot for Nick Chubb. I would play Rachaad White over Nick Chubb. I would play David Montgomery over Nick Chubb. I think I would play Mike Evans over Nick Chubb too. So yeah, I think I bench Nick Chubb here. It's weird benching Nick Chubb. He's obviously had a beast of a season. He's kind of coming off, I think, his worst game of the year. It was a bad matchup, I think, his last game against the Bills, if I recall correctly. Yeah, he only had 9.7 points, 67 yards. And now he gets the Bucs, and the Bucs are the number 2 run defense in the league. So I think it's okay to bench Nick Chubb this week, though. You can never be comfortable benching one of the best and most talented and efficient running backs in the league. Please pick 2: Evans, Olave, Amari, Kamara, Watson, PPR. Much love to all of you as well. You got to start Alvin Kamara. First of all, you got to start Alvin Kamara, and you got to bench Christian Watson for all of these guys. I play Mike Evans, Olave, Amari, Kamara, all well ahead of Christian Watson. Christian Watson's floor is so much lower than all of these guys. I think I would go Mike Evans, though. Yeah, again, over Olave, over Amari. I do still like Mike Evans a decent amount, even though the wind is looking kind of bad. Ryan, appreciate a non-start sit question in the Sunday morning live. I grind through the start sits in this live stream. Of course, we'll get to many more as the live goes on. We've been live over an hour. We got a couple hours left. So let's talk some World Cup really quick. USA versus Iran. Honestly, Ryan, I'm a little pessimistic. I know they're coming off a really good tie against England, but I think Iran's low-key kind of good. I think it's going to be a really close game. And the tough part about the U.S. in this game is Iran knows they only need a tie, and the U.S. needs a win. So I think we could really see Iran pack it in, and both teams really clearly knowing the result they need. It could be a really, really tough game for the U.S. I'm nervous for them. They definitely have a chance, but I think it's like a pretty even money line, like betting odds. Iran has some good players. They absolutely can beat us, and they absolutely can tie us too. And it's really easy sometimes in soccer to just pack it in and not let up any goals. So I think I would lean towards Iran. Honestly, I'm a little nervous because it's also like the U.S. needs a win, and Iran only needs a tie. So they sort of have an edge there already. Really brutal result for us against Wales. Good morning. Montgomery or Godwin at flex PPR league. Yeah, I think I would go. Usually I would say Godwin like really easily here, but I think Montgomery is safer. I do think he's safer than Godwin. There's going to be some rain and wind in the Bucs game. There's going to be a lot of rain in the Bears-Jets game. Obviously, though, running backs versus receivers, running backs affected much less than the rain, even could be helped by the rain and the wind, and receivers not so much. So I'm okay going Monty over Godwin. Ayuk or Smith-Schuster or Boyd. Honestly, I think I would go Tyler Boyd over Juju, over Ayuk. I definitely would go Boyd over Ayuk. Juju, first game back from his concussion, really rough hit he had. But Kadarius Toney's out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out. McCole Hardman's out. But they're playing the Rams. I'm a little nervous for the Chiefs' offense because I think they might all be on the bench by the fourth quarter. That's how bad of a blowout game this might be. Still, Juju should be started in a lot of spots. I like Boyd, I think, a little bit more than him, though, against the Titans. Really good matchup for Boyd against the Titans. And there's no Jamar Chase, no Joe Mixon. Kamara or Montgomery full PPR? Walter has different ratings than your rankings. Yeah, Steven, these are my personal rankings. The WalterPicks app is Walter's AI rankings for the week. So they will differ from time to time. I don't know which way Walter's going on this one, but I think you got to go Alvin Kamara. I think you got to go Alvin Kamara over Montgomery. I still think Alvin Kamara is just too talented of a player. Like he has too high of a ceiling to be benched for David Montgomery. So yeah, we have Alvin Kamara well below. It looks like Walter has Alvin Kamara well below David Montgomery. And I think there's a good argument that David Montgomery is safer than Alvin Kamara, but I'm still going Kamara, man. I still think in a full PPR league, Kamara his ceiling's too high, man. His ceiling's too high. It's not a great matchup for him. Better matchup, I'd argue, for Montgomery, especially given the wind and the rain in the Jets-Bears game. Again, I think if you're playing it safe, Steven, you do go Montgomery. That's probably why he projects better from Walter, because he's locked into 20-plus touches. And you really can't even say the same thing about Alvin Kamara. But the talent level is so high for Kamara. I have a hard time benching him. I think you got to go Kamara over Montgomery personally. I know you're low on Christian Watson this week. So do I go Treylon Burks or Deontay Johnson full PPR? Yeah, I would play both those guys over Christian Watson this week. I think I like Treylon Burks a little bit more. I've been a big fan of Deontay all season. He's coming off his worst game of the year, I believe. And George Pickens seems to have a pretty solid role. And it's not a good matchup for Deontay Johnson this week either. He's in kind of a tough spot against the Colts, who are a top 3 secondary in terms of fantasy points allowed against receivers this season. They've been much worse in the run defense. Yeah, Deontay Johnson, honestly, he's coming off one of his worst games over the last 3 years. He only had 4 catches. I mean, back-to-back games with only 4 catches for Deontay Johnson. Only 5 targets. I mean, he's seeing some of his lowest usage of his career, really, in the last couple of weeks. So a little bit nervous there with Kenny Pickett against the Colts. I'm okay going Treylon Burks. It was really quiet. I felt like it was a really quiet breakout game for Treylon Burks last week. I don't feel like anyone really was talking much about the Treylon Burks breakout, but he had 111 yards. A lot of those came on two big plays, but that's what Treylon Burks can do, guys. He was running deep routes, which was really exciting. And we already know he's a beast after the catch. I think he's pretty clearly the most talented receiver the Titans have, and he still has room to play more too. He only played 55% of the snaps. He only ran 18 routes. He was only running a route and half the dropbacks for Ryan Tannehill last week. Coming back off the injury, I think he could play more this week, and he had 8 targets still last week, by far the most he's had in a game. So yeah, I think Traylon Burks is definitely startable. And again, I think this Bengals Titans game is one to really target for fantasy. That's why I'm going in my DraftKings lineup. I'm stacking Joe Burrow with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and I'm running it back with Traylon Burks. I really like that stack a lot. Probably be my favorite tournament stack of the day, which is why it's in my DraftKings lineup. Obviously, on the YouTube Live, you can see that. Again, we're live on YouTube and TikTok, and on the YouTube Live, you get my top 15 rankings every position, and you get my DraftKings lineup, and a lot more too. Right in the TikTok bio is where you can find the YouTube Live. DK or Samaje in my flex. Yeah, we're not benching DK Metcalf for Samaje Perine. We're just not doing it. I know Samaje Perine scored 3 touchdowns last week. I know Joe Mixon is out. Chris Evans is going to be involved, and Samaje Perine is like at least 3, 4, 5 tiers below DK Metcalf, just on a pure talent basis. And it's a good match for DK Metcalf. He gets the Raiders. The Raiders defense has not been very good this season. I like Metcalf and Lockett a lot. I have Metcalf, I think, as a top 10 wide receiver. Yep, I do. Number 9. I have Lockett in number 10. I think they're really close together too. But yeah, you got to start DK Metcalf over Samaje Perine. Good morning, big man. Sam, Alex, good morning, man. Full PPR flex. Olave, Perine, or Palmer. You're the man. I got you. Yeah, this one's Olave. Palmer is definitely in play. I honestly think Palmer versus Perine is really close too. I think Perine's safer than Palmer, but I kind of like Palmer's ceiling more attached to Justin Herbert against the Cardinals. But yeah, I think the answer here is Olave. The answer to the test here is Olave. Olave versus Christian Kirk, though, I would go Christian Kirk. This is the first Christian Kirk question I've seen. The Jaguars are playing the Ravens this week. They're 3.5-point underdogs. They're going to have to throw. Last game, Christian Kirk had 12 targets. He's got at least 8 catches in his last 2 games. Nobody's really been a bigger fan than Christian Kirk than I have this season. I drafted him in a ton of leagues, so many best ball leagues, and he's been close to that top tier receiver. That's why I have him in my top 15 wide receiver rankings. I think there's even a case for playing him over Terry McLaurin and Cortland Sutton, maybe even Chris Godwin and Mike Evans this week too. He really does have a really high floor, high ceiling as the clear top passing option for Trevor Lawrence. And let's not pretend like the Ravens secondary has been very good this season, though they are getting a few guys back this week in their secondary. Keenan, DK, or T. You got to go T. Yeah, it's got to be T here. I like Keenan. I like DK a lot. But T. Higgins is my number 4 ranked wide receiver. There's no Jamar Chase, and they're playing the Titans. So for all the reasons, I think Tyler Boyd is a sneaky good start. I mean, T. Higgins, like he is a must start. That's why I have him in my DraftKings lineup as well. But yeah, T. Higgins, like I don't think there's going to be a question here today where I say you should bench T. Higgins. He's coming off his best game of the season, 148 yards against the Steelers. He's got an even better matchup. I'd argue the Titans secondary might be even worse than the Steelers secondary. At 24 points last week. No Jamar Chase, no Joe Mixon. I really do like T's floor and ceiling this week. Hey, Sam, who should be my flex? Josh Jacobs, Debo, DK, Olave, or Patterson? Yes, the Josh Jacobs stuff is tough here. I would go with DK. I think I would hold out and watch the news about Josh Jacobs, though. And they're playing each other in the late window. So it would be DK or Josh Jacobs for me. I would not play Debo or Olave or Patterson over either of those guys. If Josh Jacobs wasn't on the injury report, I do think I would be saying Josh Jacobs. Seahawks run defense hasn't been great this season, and Jacobs is really a true workhorse back. But I like Metcalf a lot against the Raiders, so I think both of those options are really good. And I'm okay going Metcalf if Josh Jacobs ends up sitting or we get some worse news about Josh Jacobs' injury. Full PPR Sutton, Pierce, Debo, Palmer. Thanks. Yeah, I'd go Sutton. I think I'd go Sutton. I honestly think I'd rank them in this order in a full PPR league. Sutton's over under 60.5 receiving yards today. There's no Jerry Jeudy. There's no KJ Hamler. He has a pretty good chance at a touchdown and some deep targets. I do like Sutton a decent amount. Hey, Sam, Pacheco, Gus Edwards, or Elijah Mitchell in the flex. Also, Paris Campbell, Hollywood Brown. I'm going Pacheco over Gus and Eli pretty easily. The Chiefs are 15.5-point favorites. Huge favorites against the Rams. I mean, colossal favorites against the Rams. The Rams are trotting out a practice squad. They're basically playing the practice squad today. They have no Matt Stafford. They have no Cooper Kupp. They have no Allen Robinson. They were already a bad offense. And now they're just going to get obliterated by the Chiefs. So, yeah, you do like Pacheco for that reason. I think he gets 15-plus carries again today. There's no Clyde. There's no McCole Hardman. Unfortunately, Pacheco's not being used very much in the passing game. So in PPR leagues, that really makes him a much less enticing option. But, yeah, I still like Pacheco a lot. Paris Campbell versus Hollywood Brown. Yeah, I had this one earlier. I said Paris Campbell. I do feel better about Paris Campbell than Hollywood Brown. It's not a bad matchup for Paris Campbell against the Steelers. He's been clicking a little bit with Matt Ryan. Paris Campbell having a little bit of a breakout season. He's finally had a long stretch of health this season for the first time in his entire career, and that's boded very well. He's got at least 5 targets in 6 of his last 7 games, 6 of his last 7, 5 of his last 6. 5 of his last 6, he's got at least 5 targets, and he went over 6 in 4 of those. He's got over 9 targets, at least 9 targets in 3 of those of his last 6 games. So, yeah, you got to feel decent about Paris Campbell against the Steelers. And I'm nervous about Marquise Brown. So Marquise Brown has a really high ceiling. He's got a really high ceiling. If I knew Marquise Brown was going to be playing fully, like his normal snap percentage today, 90% plus snap share, then I absolutely would be saying Marquise Brown. And if you think that's going to be the case, then you should go Marquise Brown because the ceiling is really high for him. We've seen some really big performances. He's going to see some deep targets if he's playing. And he has gone over 90% snap share in every game. But again, he's coming off an injury. He's coming back a little bit earlier than his expected timeline. So there's just some uncertainty there. And obviously, we've never seen him play with DeAndre Hopkins. So that'll be really interesting to monitor as well. Or at least this season, we haven't seen him play with DeAndre Hopkins. So, yeah, I'm nervous for Hollywood Brown. But again, if you think he's playing his normal snaps, then I'm okay doing it. Are you playing Justin Fields if he plays over Jimmy G? Justin Fields is not playing. I think he's already been officially ruled out. So kind of a non-reasonable question. I don't think Justin Fields is playing. If he was playing, I don't think I'd play him over Jimmy G. The weather in this game is going to be so bad between the Bears and the Jets. And Justin Fields, even if he's playing, you got to bump Justin Fields down in your rankings because he's not going to be running as much with this shoulder injury. Sounds like there's a real chance they shut him down because they know they're not a playoff team. And they've already seen enough from Justin Fields to know he's the guy next season. So why risk it? Why risk him this year? Just go get a better draft pick. I think that's what the Bears are going to do. And it does not sound like the Justin Fields is going to play. So you got to go. You got to go Jimmy G. Sam, please. John Taylor, Rashad White. Yeah. So let me pull up my running back rankings here again. This one's pretty interesting. I do have JT ranked ahead of Rashad White. You can't be benching JT. His workload's been too good. He's too more of a known elite running back with an elite workload over Rashad White, who's a little bit more of an unknown just because he's a rookie. We have not seen him have this elite workload that we're expecting today. So you got to go. Yeah, you got to go JT. It really does seem like with the coaching change in Indianapolis, they're really leaning really heavily on JT. They know he's the best player on the team, and they're all coaching for their job. So yeah, you got to go JT. Love the app. Thanks for the help earlier. Van Jefferson or Drake London, half PPR. Hudson, man, you can't be trying out Van Jefferson. You can't do it. You can't play any of these Rams other than Tyler Higbee, in my opinion. I know there's no A-Rob, there's no Cooper Kupp. Van Jefferson, low key, is the top receiver, I guess, against the Chiefs, and the Rams are going to get crushed. But Bryce Perkins can't throw very well, and he's more of a running quarterback. I feel horrible about this whole Rams offense. Like, they might not score today. They're already a horrible offense, and they're playing basically their whole practice squad today. Miles Sanders or Isaiah Pacheco. Yeah, I go Miles Sanders over Pacheco, but it's close. I like both of them a lot this week, though. All right. Someone's asking me the QB rankings. Let me pull up the QB rankings again. One more quick shout out, guys. If I can't, I'm not gonna be able to get to all the start sits. We got over 1,000 people in here across the YouTube and TikTok live. I appreciate all of you being in here, and I'm going to get to as many start sits, and I'm going to talk about basically every player over the next hour and a half, like I have the last hour and a half. But I'm not going to be able to get to every single specific start sit. That's why I helped over the last 3 years build the WalterPicks app, which is a free app in the iOS and Android app stores that is powered by Walter, an AI algorithm that gives us the best projections and boom and bust probabilities custom to your league settings, scoring settings, roster settings. And again, it's free to download in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. It's the number one way you can support me, is just checking out the app. And we also have a Black Friday sale running for the premium subscription in the app, which is how we make money and how I'm able to do this full time. So that's also the number one way you could really support me is taking advantage of the Black Friday sale and syncing your league in the WalterPicks app. All right. The player prop of the day is Jeff Wilson, over 82.5 rushing yards. I think he goes over 100 yards today against the Texans. No Raheem Mostert. I see 20 plus carries incoming for Jeff Wilson. I think Myles Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed maybe even will mix in a little bit for the Dolphins with Raheem Mostert out and Chase Edmonds obviously out of town. But Jeff Wilson's going to be seeing the bulk of the work here, and it's against the Texans, the dead last run defense in the league. So you got to feel really good about Jeff Wilson. I'm playing him in DraftKings. He has to be started in all fantasy leagues, and I like his prop a lot today. 2, Mike Evans or Christian Watson. I'd go Mike Evans over Christian Watson. I'm not in on Christian Watson this week. It's a bad matchup. Bad matchup for Christian Watson. Hey, Sam, do you like Zay Jones this week? Like is maybe too strong of a word for Zay Jones. I mean, I think he's playable, but the floor is still really low for Zay Jones. So let's not get ahead of ourselves thinking like it's a super, super great play. But yeah, I mean, he's seeing volume in a game that the Jaguars were 3.5 point underdogs, and he did have 10 targets last game. I mean, 10 targets is pretty good to see for Zay Jones, but I don't think he has a super high ceiling. I don't think he scored a touchdown since week 3 So if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably not going over 15 points, even with 10 targets. Hey, Sam. Good morning. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Thanks, man. You too. Do I go DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, PPR? Oh, God, yeah, this one's tough, man, because the Panthers are not in the best matchup this week against the Denver Broncos. Elite pass defense. Patrick Surtain has really shut down a lot of good receivers this season. I think I would go Deontay Johnson against the Colts. Obviously, that's not a good matchup either. Those are the two top secondaries, I believe, in yards allowed to receivers this season, is the Broncos and the Colts. And that's who these two guys are playing. I still think I'd go Deontay over DJ Moore, but yeah, it's definitely close. And I'm nervous for both guys. Guys, we're live on YouTube and we're live on TikTok. On the YouTube live, though, you get my top 15 rankings every position. You get my DraftKings lineup. You get my picks against the spread. All just right, scrolling across the screen. Answer so many of the comments just right away by just being in the YouTube live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. Do appreciate you guys coming over to the YouTube live. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers this season. We're getting kind of close. Make sure you hit the subscribe button too if you're watching live on YouTube. And if you are watching live on TikTok and you're not going to come over to the YouTube live, hit the follow button and we'll get to some TikTok comments as well. And I'm posting daily TikTok content as well. Jeff Wilson needs to be started. He needs to be started this week. That's just the bottom line. A Chubb, Kamara, or Boyd at flex. It's got to be Kamara, man. I get that Kamara's been a little bit disappointing of late, but you got to start Kamara. You got to start Kamara. I still think his ceiling is really, really high. He still has one of the few players that could score 5 touchdowns in a game, and like nobody would be that surprised. And he did play 100% of the snaps. Last week, only 12 carries, four catches, only 16 touches for Kamara last week, but he didn't come off the field once, I don't think. Actually, I think that snap share might be wrong. I think he was closer to 60% of the snap share. I think that I saw that earlier. But yeah, Kamara has to be started, regardless of the incorrect snap share I just quoted. You guys are down Kamara. Happy game day. Debo, Ayuk, Amari Cooper, or Michael Pittman. Happy game day, man. Best day is the best day of the week. I look forward to this live all week. I prepare for it all morning. I'm up around 5:30, 6 a.m. every Sunday morning, and I just go straight to preparing for this live. This is one of my favorite things to do. I'm grateful for everyone that's a part of this and makes this a reality. I'm living out my dream every Sunday morning. All right, Debo, Ayuk, Amari Cooper, or Michael Pittman. Yeah, you got to go Pittman. Have to go Pittman against the Steelers. Bad secondary of the Steelers. Michael Pittman is really one of the elite options, I think, this week in fantasy. He really has a really high floor, high ceiling. I even ranked number 8 wide receiver, only behind Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Hopkins, Adams, Tyreek Hill. That's it. That's the only guys I'm playing ahead of Michael Pittman. I think he's a pretty considerably better option than everyone else you have listed here. Start. I'm playing my fiance. Please help. Latavius Murray, Christian Watson. Christine, I got you. These are the most intense matchups when you're playing your significant other. And yeah, I'd go Latavius Murray over Christian Watson. And Christian Watson has maybe a higher ceiling. Like maybe his best case outcome is a little bit better than the best case outcome for Latavius Murray, but the floors are really not comparable. Like the worst case outcome is much worse for Christian Watson than Murray. Christian Watson's floor is close to 0 points. Latavius Murray could see 20 plus touches. So his floor is much higher than that. Watson's probably more talented, I would say, but yeah, I would go Latavius Murray pretty easily over Christian Watson this week. Again, I'm nervous for Christian Watson this week because he's played two really bad defenses his last 2 games. And this week he doesn't get a bad defense. He gets the Eagles defense against Darius Slay. So I'm okay going with Latavius Murray over Christian Watson. White or Pierce at flex? It's got to be White, man. It's got to be Rachaad White this week. Rachaad White is a top 10 running back option for me. This week I've ranked number 6. He is playing without Leonard Fournette in a game that's going to be rainy and windy. Lots of checkdowns, I think, to Rachaad White this week. I don't hate Dameon Pierce, but he is coming off his worst game of the season. I don't have him in my top 15, but I think he's at right around 16, 17, Dameon Pierce. So yeah, I think Rachaad White pretty easily over Dameon Pierce this week. Kamara or Aaron Jones? Oh God, I mean, both guys I feel like people are a little bit down on. I do have Alvin Kamara ranked well ahead of Aaron Jones, though. I think I would go Kamara over Aaron Jones. Start Higbee or Debo because Jamar most likely out. Jamar is out. Jamar's already been ruled out. Let me pull up a bunch of these other ones here too. You got to go Debo over Higbee. You're not starting Higbee over Debo. I just pulled up the guys that are out. There's so many guys out. I mean, there's so many guys out. You got to be up to date on who's out. And I always get the comments in TikTok like, why are you listing who's out? Like, this is obvious. It's like, not everyone knows who's out. And knowing who is out might be the biggest edge in fantasy and just understanding how that's going to impact the game. So first of all, Leonard Fournette out. Huge day for Rachaad White. Huge opportunity for Rachaad White. I think he's going to get 5+ catches, 20+ touches potentially for Rachaad White. I do think Giovanni Bernard mixes in, but I like Rachaad White a lot. In this, the weather in this game does bode well for the check down. Joe Mixon out. Jamar Chase out. Samaje Perine's going to be the lead back for the Bengals. Chris Evans will work in too. And guys, Samaje Perine's not that good. He scored 3 touchdowns last week. He was, I think, the number 2 running back or number 1 running back in fantasy last week. I think he's a little bit of a trap. This week, I'm not feeling great about Samaje Perine. I do feel really good about T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, though. The Titans are pass funnel defense. Their run defense has been really solid. Pass defense, not so much. Bottom 3 secondary in the NFL for receivers and bottom 7 secondary for quarterbacks. Raheem Mostert's out. Fire up Jeff Wilson with a lot of confidence against the dead last run defense in the league, the Houston Texans, who are multiple touchdown underdogs against the Dolphins today. Matt Stafford is out. Bryce Perkins starting in his place. Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson also out. The Rams are going to get, crushed. They're the biggest underdogs of the day, and they're playing the Chiefs. So as good as the Rams defense can be, they're not going to stop the Chiefs. And as bad as the Rams offense is, they're going to be even worse today. They're without everybody. So they're going to get crushed. You can't trust really anyone on the Rams. I think Higbee's the guy you can trust the most at the tight end position because tight ends are already tough to trust. But other than that, I'm not trusting any Rams players. And Van Jefferson, no thank you. Kyron Williams, no thank you. Cam Akers, no thank you. I want nothing to do with any of them. Bryce Perkins, no thank you. Kyle Pitts is out, likely for the season. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler out. Fire up Cortland Sutton with some confidence. But we also have Latavius Murray being the lead back for the Broncos. A lot of people wondering, should I start Latavius Murray this week? I think that he is startable. I'd start him over Samaje Perine. I wouldn't start him over Rashad White. I wouldn't start him over Jeff Wilson. I wouldn't start him over any of the running backs I have up on the YouTube Live, my top 15 rankings. Again, come to the YouTube Live to see my top 15 rankings, every position. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. All right. There's even more guys out than I just listed. Justin Fields is out too. I don't know if I even said that one. Perine, Lockett, or White. Yeah, so I'd rank these guys in the reverse order here. I'd go Rashad White, then Tyler Lockett, and then Samaje Perine. All right. I think we're getting... you got to go Rashad White, then Lockett, then Perine. DraftKings lineup. Yeah, I got you with the DraftKings lineup in the YouTube Live. I'll pull it up on the screen. I'll talk to it for everyone on the TikTok Live too, but I'm feeling really good about this lineup. Honestly, I think it's a little chalky. There's going to be some high-owned players here in this lineup, but I think I'm differentiating enough with Treylon Burks and with Terry McLaurin that there's not many people will be landing on this lineup. So I'm stacking Joe Burrow with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Again, I really like targeting this Titans secondary. Joe Burrow was the number 1 QB last week. I think he could throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. That's how high his ceiling is. I'm not saying that's what he will do, but that's a really rare ceiling for quarterbacks. He has a similar ceiling to Mahomes. And in that Mahomes game, they're 15-point favorites, and the Bengals are only 1-point favorites against the Titans. So the Bengals game should be closer than the Chiefs game too, which should bode well for Joe Burrow. He should be in there for all 4 quarters. I honestly think Mahomes might not play in the 4th quarter. That's how bad this Rams offense is going to be. So I'm stacking Joe Burrow with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, and I'm running that stack back with Treylon Burks against the Bengals. A very quiet breakout game for Treylon Burks. Last week, nobody's really talking about the breakout Treylon Burks game. He had 111 yards. Last week, 8 targets, by far the most he's had in a game. He looks like the pretty clear, most talented receiver that they have, ahead of Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook-Akine. So you gotta have some faith with Treylon Burks this week. I do think he's a pretty interesting sleeper. Really like his price on DraftKings. I think his ceiling is really high. Floor, absolutely low in a run-first offense, but the ceiling is high for Treylon Burks. I'm running with the Chiefs defense for all those Rams reasons. I'm going with Terry McLaurin against the Falcons. A little bit nervous for the weather in this game. There's going to be some really, really heavy rain before the game. Could make the field conditions kind of tough, but the Falcons secondary is definitely one to target. And Terry McLaurin is seeing such consistent volume with Taylor Heineke. He is averaging 72 yards a game. He's going to see, I think, 7+, 8+ targets in this game pretty easily, like he has over the last few weeks. I'm also going with the chalk in Jeff Wilson and Rashad White. I think Jeff Wilson clears 100 yards against the Texans. I think there's a lot of check down passes to Rashad White today. And then at the tight end, I'm going with Mark Andrews in his own tier with Travis Kelce. Really, Travis Kelce is sort of in his own tier, and Mark Andrews is right below. But I do think Mark Andrews could outscore Travis Kelce any given week, and he has a much better matchup than Kelce this week. Kelce's up against the Rams, and we have Mark Andrews up against the Jaguars. Jaguars have been much worse against tight ends than the Rams have. And again, that Chiefs game, kind of a sketchy game for fantasy if the whole Chiefs team is not playing in the 4th quarter. But again, they're probably going to score a lot of points. So obviously you're starting Kelce, Mahomes, and the rest of the Chiefs players. Pacheco, I do like a lot today too, but not as much as Jeff Wilson, who is the free player prop pick of the day. Over 82.5 rushing yards for Jeff. Again, I think he goes over 100 yards. I think he sees 20+ carries against the Texans. There's no Raheem Mostert this week. There's no Raheem Mostert. And they're playing the worst run defense in the league, and they're 2 touchdown favorites. So yeah, I like Jeff Wilson a lot. We've already seen Jeff Wilson see big workloads, even with Raheem Mostert healthy. So even if Jeff Wilson's workload doesn't change, he had 17 carries in his last game. If he gets 17 carries, I think he crushes this prop line. He had 143 total yards in his last game. Should I start Chris Olave or Tyler Lockett. I'm nervous for Olave because he's going against the 49ers. Dude, go Lockett. It's a better matchup for Lockett. I have Lockett ranked ahead of Olave, and everyone knows I love me some Chris Olave. But yeah, Tyler Lockett's a top 10 option against the Raiders. He also has arguably just as good, if not a better floor than Olave this season. Lockett's been actually really consistent. Like, he's had a good floor, and the ceiling is still there for Lockett. So yeah, definitely Lockett. DJ Moore, Hollywood Brown, full PPR. Yeah. So I'm nervous for Hollywood Brown. I have him as a must bench in most spots. And this mostly has to do with the injury, and we just haven't seen him play with DeAndre Hopkins, and we don't know if he's going to be fully healthy. But I still think I'd play Hollywood over DJ Moore because the ceiling is so high for Hollywood. It's much higher than for DJ Moore in a tough matchup against the Broncos, playing with Sam Darnold, too. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch for the Panthers. It's like tough spot for Sam Darnold to be getting his first start against the Broncos defense. But Hollywood Brown, there's no Rondale Moore, there's no Greg Dortch, and there's no Zach Ertz. So he could play a lot in a game that the Chargers should be able to score a decent amount of points. So yeah, I would go Hollywood Brown over DJ Moore. But in general, I'm benching Hollywood Brown until we see him back there fully healthy and how he looks alongside DeAndre Hopkins, who for sure will be the number one target. Why Taysom Hill? Yeah, so Taysom Hill is a top 10 tight end for me. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link is that in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 15 rankings every position. And if you do that, you'll see Taysom Hill's a top 10 tight end for me this week. And I think there's an argument he has top 5 tight end upside. I think he's a higher upside than most players at the tight end position. He had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts in his last game, and a season-high 55% snap percentage. And there were some reports after the game that they realized going into that game that they had been underutilizing Taysom Hill. He's one of the most reliable offensive pieces they have. There's not very many reliable players in that offense. And Taysom Hill is the maybe third most reliable offensive player they have after Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. So I think Taysom Hill is a really strong start, honestly, at tight end this week. And he has just way higher ceiling. He's going to throw passes and run the ball in the red zone. Like, you just can't say that about any other tight end. So yeah, I do like Taysom Hill a decent amount. Aaron Jones, Chris Godwin, or Antonio Gibson, PPR league. Yeah, this one's pretty tough. I do have Aaron Jones ranked ahead of Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson's seen some encouraging pass game work with J.D. McKissick out, and he had the bulk of the carries over Brian Robinson in their last game too. Not a horrible matchup against the Falcons, but I do like Aaron Jones against the Eagles a little bit more. Eagles have a very run funnel defense, and they have not been very good against the last few running backs that they've played. Chris Godwin is a guy I like. I'm nervous about the weather, so I think I would maybe lean Aaron Jones over Chris Godwin. I think it's a little bit safer of a route to go. Even in a PPR league, we know Aaron Jones will catch some passes. Yeah, I'm okay going Aaron Jones over Chris Godwin. Sam, my season is on the line this week. Yeah, Connor, we got seasons on the line every week from here on out, really. And that's what you love. That's what we do this for. And that's why you got to play Tyler Boyd over Cordero Patterson, man. The Tyler Boyd against the Titans, I think he's going to win weeks this week. I don't have him, I don't think, in my top 15 wide receivers, but I think he's right outside the top 15. He's a top 25 option, I think, at wide receiver this week against the Titans. There's no more Jamar Chase again this week, and there's no Joe Mixon this week either. I really like Boyd against the Titans. I'm playing in my DraftKings lineup today. You got to feel good about what Joe Burrow can do against the secondary. Cordero Patterson absolutely is a riskier play than Tyler Boyd, especially in a PPR format. All right, Palmer or Pickens? Yeah, I'm going Josh Palmer over George Pickens this week. Josh Palmer looked great, starting to build some chemistry with Justin Herbert, and there's no Mike Williams again, so Palmer should see a near every down role. Yo, Sam, Aaron Jones, Michael Pittman, or Tyler Lockett? It's Pittman, man. It's got to be Pittman with Matt Ryan. I would go Pittman over Godwin in a non-PPR as well. I feel very good about Pittman. I have him as a top 8 wide receiver. He's my number 8 wide receiver this week. Again, you can see my top 15 rankings, every position on the YouTube live. Come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. Guys, shout out to everybody in this live. I've been live for almost 2 hours. It's been a fun live. We've got more than an hour left to go as well, about an hour and a half left in the live. This is one of my favorite things to do. Something I look forward to all week. And the best way you could possibly support me is by checking out the WalterPicks app, which you can find in the TikTok bio and the YouTube description. It's going to help you with everything, every decision point you have in fantasy. There's going to be insight that you can gain that's going to help you in the WalterPicks app. That's on the iOS and Android App Store, powered by machine learning. I've spent the last 3 years building this. It's going to help you out a lot. And it also is custom to your league settings, which is one of the toughest things as content creators, making sure that I'm accounting for your league settings. Like this question, for example, Juju versus Burks. I might have a different answer if it's PPR versus non-PPR. Like that stuff does really matter. I would play Juju over Burks, by the way. As much as I like Burks in his low-key breakout game, I would play Juju over Burks. Kamara, ETN, Rachaad White, full PPR, bench 1. Yeah, I think this one's tough, man. Let me see where I have ETN versus Kamara. I do think you got to play Rachaad White. It's weird, going to be bench. Yeah, look at this. I mean, I have them number 8 and number 9. I do have Kamara ahead of ETN, but that one's super close, man. It's super close. I have Rachaad White ahead of both of them. All 3 of these guys are really good starts. Obviously, PPR, it bodes well for all of them too. I think I would go Kamara over ETN personally, but I have a feeling ETN probably projects better than Kamara. Super close. Yeah, I personally, though, I think I'll go Kamara and Rachaad White. Hey, Sam, pick 2 PPR. Hill, duh. Garrett Wilson, Samuel Burks. Obviously, you're playing Tyreek Hill as my number 1 or number 2 receiver this week. Tyreek Hill is on pace, guys, to literally break all-time receiving records this season. You cannot start Garrett Wilson this week. You cannot start Garrett Wilson. You can't start Tyler Conklin. You can't start Darnell Mooney or Cole Kmet. You can't start Corey Davis or Elijah Moore. You can't start any of these passing game because this game is going to be really, really bad weather. You got to be aware of the weather in this Jets-Bears game. It's going to be pouring rain, torrential, downpouring rain. I don't even know how to say that word, but you know what I mean. It's going to be bad, and it's going to get worse as the game goes on. And it's also Mike White starting, like as bad as Zach Wilson's been. I don't trust Mike White either. I know we've seen some good performances out of Mike White in the past, but yeah, I think you bench Garrett Wilson. I think it's between Curtis Samuel and Burks. Honestly, I like Burks a little bit more than Curtis Samuel this week. What's up? Samsonite. Wow, I've never heard that one, Wade. Rachaad White or Najee? Yeah, I'm playing White over Najee, but Najee absolutely is trending up big time. I have him as my number 12 running back this week, by far the highest he's been in my rankings. I still like Rachaad White a little bit more, a little bit better of a matchup and better situation, I think, receiving-wise for Rachaad White. I really think Rachaad White gets 5+ catches today. I've been searching for Rachaad White reception prop, and I couldn't find one. There's no reception prop on Underdog. There's no reception prop for Rachaad White on PrizePicks, and that's just because they know I would be hammering that reception prop line for Rachaad White if they put it out there. Oh, and here it is. They put one out on PrizePicks. Over and under 3 receptions. I mean, you got to hammer the over. 3 receptions. I think he goes 5+ catches today for Rachaad White. I really like that on PrizePicks. Maybe that's another free prop that we can give out on this live stream. Over 3 receptions for Rachaad White. He was a 99th percentile receiver in college. Only 1% of running backs in college had more receptions and targets than him. So yeah, I really like Rachaad White this week. I like him more than Najee. Morning, flex, play, Pacheco, Curtis Samuel, Burks, Hollywood. Yeah, I think it's Pacheco. I think it's Pacheco. And Hollywood has the high ceiling on this list for sure. If he plays enough, I'm a little nervous that he might not play enough. That's why I have him as a must bench this week. And I think Pacheco, 15.5 point favorite. He's seen 15+ carries the last 2 games. I think he sees another 15+ today. I think he finds the end zone for the first time. Really just a good spot game situation wise for Pacheco. I like him a lot. Yeah, I like him a lot this week. I think he's the safest player on this list. I would probably play Pacheco over Marquise Brown and over Burks and over Curtis Samuel. Hollywood or Josh Palmer. Also, when is a QB I can stream because of Justin Fields' injury? Yeah, I would play Hollywood over Josh Palmer, I think. I like the ceiling for Hollywood more. Obviously, they're playing each other in that game. But yeah, I like Hollywood more, I think, than Josh Palmer, even though Josh Palmer's starting to build that connection with Justin Herbert. And then which QB can you stream? Yeah, let me pull up my QB rankings here. There's a few. Taylor Heineke against the Falcons, even though that weather might be a little concerning. Jimmy G, if he's available, I think is an option. I don't love the QB options in general this week, but here's my top 15 QBs. You can see which guys are available in your league. Again, come to the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, you can see my top 15 rankings every position. Juju or Pacheco, I'd go Pacheco over Juju. Boyd or Devontae Smith, I'd go Boyd over Devontae Smith. I would go Pittman over Boyd, though. Watson or Palmer, yeah, I'm not trusting Christian Watson this week. I would go Josh Palmer over him. I like Curtis Samuel more than Van Jefferson. I don't trust any Rams. Tyler Higbee's the only one I trust a little bit. What's one more lock pick? Yeah, so my favorite player props today. Jeff Wilson over 82.5 rushing yards. Dead last run defense in the Texans. No Raheem Mostert. Jeff Wilson with Raheem Mostert had 17 carries last game. If he sees 17 carries in this game, he's going over 82.5 rushing yards against the Texans. I think he's going to see 20+ carries in this game. I also do like the Rachaad White reception line. 3 reception, over under 3 receptions on PrizePicks. He's smashing over 3 receptions. Going to be rainy, windy in this Buccaneers-Browns game. Going to be a lot of checkdowns for Rachaad White, I think, in this one. I like him over 3 catches with no Leonard Fournette. Josh Jacobs, questionable, or Jeff Wilson / Najee. The absence Jacobs, but not sure if it takes into the injury into account. It doesn't take the injury fully into account, like we humans can. Right? It's a machine learning algorithm. It can't fully comprehend the injuries. That's something to be aware of. And I would play Jeff Wilson, I think, over Josh Jacobs right now with the injury concern. If there was no injury concern, I would be playing Josh Jacobs over Jeff Wilson. But yeah, I'm okay going Jeff Wilson over Josh Jacobs and over Najee. The floor is just so high for Jeff Wilson. Again, his rushing prop line is at 82.5, and I think he's going over that prop line. So, I mean, he really is a really high floor, high ceiling play. I think he could score multiple touchdowns, go over 100 yards. I think you got to play Jeff Wilson in basically all spots. I'm playing him over James Conner as well, for sure. Evans or Pittman? Yeah, I'd go Pittman over Evans. Taysom Hill or Njoku? That one's close. I think I have Njoku ahead of him, I think, in my tight end rankings. No, I don't. I have Taysom one spot ahead of Njoku. So yeah, I'm going Hill. And again, he had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts last week. That's Taysom Hill in his last game. That's pretty great, guys, for a tight end. Getting 9 carries, and some of those are going to come in the red zone, maybe the goal line. Like, Taysom Hill really does have a higher ceiling than David Njoku, than most tight ends in fantasy, because he's just used differently than all these other tight ends. He's used like a running back, and he gets some passing attempts in there too, man. Like, he really has a 2-touchdown plus ceiling and could break some big runs. Like, you got to go Taysom Hill. He had a season-high snap percentage, 55% last week. I really like the ceiling for Taysom Hill, and basically all tight ends not named Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews have such a low floor that it's not even worth thinking about the floor that much for these tight ends when you get deep into it. All right, Jeff Wilson or James Conner? Yeah, it's got to be Jeff. It's got to be Jeff Wilson. Olave or P. Ryan? I'm okay going Olave over P. Ryan, but P. Ryan absolutely has a higher floor than Olave. Just without Joe Mixon. P. Ryan had 3 touchdowns last week. I'm kind of out on P. Ryan, though, just in general. I don't think he's very good. Campbell or Burks? I do think Campbell's a little bit safer than Burks, but I really do like Treylon Burks. This one's kind of tough. Honestly, both good sleepers this week. Burks had a breakout game last game, though. I kind of want to lean Treylon Burks. I do kind of want to lean Treylon Burks. I think he's a better player overall than Campbell. Sub. Thanks, man. Yeah, hit the subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok, guys. I'll be live for the next hour and a half or so. I've been live for the last 2 hours. I'm basically live all Sunday mornings just for you guys, giving out free advice. And I also built a free app in the iOS and Android app store that you should check out and subscribe to there, too, if you are really serious about dominating your fantasy leagues. All right, Juju, Debo, Evans, Keenan. Pick 2. Yes, let me pull my wide receiver rankings here. That's going to help with this question. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, links in the TikTok bio, you can see my top 15 rankings every position. I do have Taysom ranked ahead of Juwan Johnson, by the way. Seeing that in the TikTok live. I think Keenan and Mike Evans are the answers here. They're the only 2 here in my top 15 rankings. I'm a little bit more nervous than usual for Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, just because of the rain and wind potential factor in that Buccaneers game. But yeah, you got to play Keenan. Keenan played great in his first game, almost 100 yards in his first game back. And he got through the game healthy. That's all I need to see to put Keenan back in my top 15, even top 10 rankings for PPR leagues. And then, yeah, Mike Evans is a better option than Juju. And Debo Samuel. You do head-to-head for DraftKings. DraftKings, also Juwan Johnson or Taysom, and Sanders or P. Ryan. Yeah, so I would go Taysom over Juwan. I would go Sanders over P. Ryan. And Kyle, this is a good question about head-to-heads because I have not been playing head-to-heads on DraftKings this season, but I think I am going to transition to exclusively playing head-to-heads, if not like sometime this season, definitely by next season. Because honestly, like the tournaments are just so brutal. The tournaments they feel much more like a lottery ticket, and you just have to be so perfect in the tournaments to really win. And the prize pool is also so top heavy. Like, I just think it'll be better for my mental health. I think I'll win more too in the head-to-head. So I think I will be transitioning to head-to-heads on DraftKings soon. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but Sleeper launched their own daily fantasy game that has to do with drafting. And I've been doing that a lot over the last few weeks. Had some really good initial success. I think I've actually doubled my bankroll in just a couple weeks playing head-to-heads on Sleeper. And so I like the head-to-heads way more. Really, like you have a way better chance of winning. And like you almost definitely are going to make at least some of your money back if you're playing head-to-heads. I generally think head-to-heads are the way to go, honestly, over the tournaments. The tournaments are so top-heavy. You really need so much to break right. And like it's exciting that you could win $100,000, $1 million in these tournaments, but it almost is never going to happen. All right, Taysom Hill or Kmet? Sub, yeah, I'm going Taysom over Kmet. You can't start Kmet. You can't start Donald Mooney. You can't start Garrett Wilson. You can't start Elijah Moore or Corey Davis because that game is the worst weather game of the day by far. There's going to be really, really, really heavy rain in the Jets-Bears game. So you got to be avoiding that game other than David Montgomery. Maybe Michael Carter can be considered in some spots too, but otherwise the passing of that game between Mike White and Trevor Siemian, I mean, what a gross game all around, honestly. Aaron Jones at running back 1 and Kenneth Walker at flex. Should I put Rashad White in over Jones? Yes, I would do that, Chase. I would put Rashad White in over Aaron Jones. Kittle, Gerald Everett, or Taysom? Yeah, you got to go Kittle. I think Kittle and Gerald Everett, honestly, both better than Taysom. I like Taysom. I'd like the ceiling for Taysom. But Kittle has to be played over him. And Gerald Everett, guys, I say this every week. It feels like the Cardinals, they have not stopped a single tight end. I mean, not one. Not a single tight end. And I usually don't really, I'm not a big fan of Gerald Everett. I think his floor is really low. It feels like they mix in a bunch of their tight ends, but yeah, they can't stop tight ends. The Cardinals can't stop them. So I like Kittle more than Everett, though. All right, Rashad White or Antonio Gibson. Yeah, it's got to be Rashad White, man. It's got to be Rashad White. Hey, Sam, good luck this Sunday. You too, man. Who you think in a half PPR? Rashad White, Monty, Pittman? Yeah, so I like Rashad White and Pittman more than Monty. Subbed, of course. Shout out to you, Marley. Shout out to all the YouTube subs. Shout out to all the TikTok followers and the WalterPicks subscribers as well. You guys are really like the reason I get to do this every Sunday morning. I feel best about Rashad White. I think the floor is really good in PPR, half PPR formats. I think I would go Rachaad White, but Pittman is a pretty elite option too against the Steelers secondary. I think he could have a really big day. I have Michael Pittman ranked number 8 wide receiver. I have Rachaad White ranked number 6 running back. I think I would go White though. I think the floor for White is just so good. Should I trade Barkley for Kamara and Hurts? I got Brady. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. I think Jalen Hurts is a pretty big upgrade over Brady. Really, really high floor with his rushing. He has taken a little bit of a step back with the rushing, but I'm okay with it. Barkley, though, absolutely is a better option than Kamara. Najee or Pittman? I think I go Pittman over Najee if this is a full PPR league, but similar to Rachaad White, I think Najee's floor is better than Pittman's. And Najee, I think, is in line for 20-plus touches again. No Jalen Warren. That's pretty big. Okay. Sutton, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Olave, James Conner start 3. Yeah, so I'm for sure starting Keenan. I think I would start James Conner, not knowing the scoring settings here. I think James Conner's floor is pretty high against the Chargers' bad run defense. And then I think I'd go Mike Evans. I think I'd play Evans over Olave and Sutton too. Hey, Sam, championship gold sub here. Should I start MVS, Alec Pierce, and Njoku or Dulcich hurting with injuries? You got to go MVS, Sam, I think. I actually like MVS a decent amount. The Rams secondary has been low-key pretty bad this season. And Paris Campbell seems to be ahead of Alec Pierce. I'm not starting 2 tight ends, so I want nothing to do with Njoku or Dulcich. And there's no McCole Hardman, and there's no Kadarius Toney. I know Juju's back, but MVS, like he could lead the Chiefs in targets after Kelsey. Definitely possible. So yeah, I think I would go. I will get to the weather report in 1 second because there's absolutely some weather to be aware of today. I do want to get to this question in the YouTube live really quickly. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube as well. With the weather, do you think the Browns are an okay DFS defense, knowing the cost of 3,200? I just think the Chiefs defense, the Bears defense, and the Jets defense are still better options, knowing the situations in those games. I mean, the Chiefs defense, crazy. I mean, it's crazy how bad the Chiefs defense might be. All right, Sam, you have no idea how much these lives and app have helped me. So thank you. I got you, man. Glad to hear that. With that in mind, what can I get for Eckler or Jacobs in a PPR league? I need receivers. I mean, you should be able to get a lot for both these guys. Both guys are top 10 options. Maybe Eckler's a top 3 option rest of the season, and Jacobs more of a top 10 option with his current injury status. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good receiver options, I think, to look for. Let me just pull up the top 15 receivers right here, and you can see some of the guys you should be targeting. I do think Jalen Waddle, maybe a little bit slept on with Tyreek Hill getting all the attention. Jalen Waddle's still a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, like them a lot this season. I think Christian Kirk is a guy to look for. I mean, all of those guys, though, I think are less valuable than Eckler and Jacobs. So you should definitely be able to get some pretty good receivers. All right, really quickly, let's run through the weather again. Let me refresh the weather report, too, because there might be some updates here. But you got to be aware of a lot of the weather today. The game that is most concerning by far, though, is the Bears and Jets game. Bears playing in New York, and this is going to be downpour rain the entire game. And this one's different than the rest of the games because it's also going to get worse as the game goes on. It's going to rain harder and harder and harder. We got Mike White versus Trevor Siemian in a downpour rain game. I mean, guys, get these players, these receivers out of your lineups. Get Cole Kmet out, get Tyler Conklin out, get Darnell Mooney out, get Garrett Wilson out. You can definitely play David Montgomery. I think he's going to see 20-plus touches in this game, that the Jets' run defense is kind of good. I think Michael Carter can be considered, but this also has the feel of a potential another like 3-3 type of score for the Jets. I don't think Mike White is necessarily going to solve all the Jets' offensive problems. Like, I get benching Zach Wilson. I get that he's been really bad, but also Mike White's not good and Joe Flacco's not good. So I don't think the Jets are going to be all of a sudden good on offense, and the Jets' defense is pretty solid. So that whole game's a mess. I'm staying away from that game pretty much in general, but I do like both defenses for fantasy. The other game to be aware of is this Bucks versus Browns game in Cleveland. There's going to be some scattered showers, but also there's going to be wind gusts, potentially over 25 miles an hour. That's super concerning for the passing attack. I'm still trusting Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in a lot of spots. That might be the wrong decision. I actually think this does bode well for Rachaad White. I think he's going to get a lot of checkdowns today. I like Rachaad White. I'm not playing Rachaad White over Jonathan Taylor. I'm seeing that in the TikTok live. JT is just too elite of an option at this point to be playing over, to be benching him really in almost any spot. I think I've been as a top 5 running back this week. The Bengals and the Titans. Some people concerned about that game. I'm not so concerned about the weather in that one. There could be some light rain, could be some sustained winds around 10, 15 miles an hour, but it's not supposed to be as rainy or windy as that Buccaneers Browns game. The Ravens and Jacks, they could have some light rain too, but not going to be heavy rain. And there could be some wind there, but not going to be as windy again as that Bucks-Browns game. The Falcons and Commanders. This one is really one to watch and something that I'll be reading through as we get more reports live on the ground as we get closer to the game. But that game is like sort of the opposite of the Bears-Jets game in the sense that the worst weather's happening like right now before the game and leading up to the game, and it's supposed to get much better as the game goes on. But it could be some bad field conditions, like downpour rain, slip and slide type conditions, maybe like we saw in week 1 between the Bears and the 49ers. It could be that type of bad field conditions in Washington today. Something to keep an eye out, though, because again, the weather might be fine once the game starts. So I'm not super worried, but I'm cautiously worried about that game. And then the Raiders and the Seahawks, we could see some rain in that game too, some light winds, but nothing to be concerned about really there. So really the main game to be worried about is the Bears and the Jets. They're not going to be able to move the ball through the air with this rain and win. The Buccaneers in Browns game, that's next in most concerning. Then the Falcons and the Commanders. And then after that, I'm not really worried about any games. Those are the 3 games I think on my radar today in terms of the weather. All right. Weatherman Sam, part-timing. Sam, you're the GOAT. Ben Silva, I got you, man. Best waiver wire tight end considering Logan Thomas or Austin Hooper or Disley. Happy PR. If Taysom's available, go get Taysom. I really like him in his ceiling. He played 55% of the snaps, season high last week in 9 carries, 3 passing attempts in his last game. Logan Thomas is active in this game against the Falcons. Again, the weather is a little bit concerning in that game. I would not start Disley. I think you dig deep with Logan Thomas here. Pick 2, Debo, Godwin, Boyd, PPR league. Yeah, so again, I'm nervous, Connor, a little bit about the weather in this Bucs game. But if there was no weather, it's got to be Godwin. It has to be Godwin over all these guys. With the weather, I'm okay going Godwin still, but I think it's close between him and Boyd. I kind of like them both, honestly, more than Debo. Sam, I love you. I got you, man. Love you as well. Sutton or Aaron Jones? It's got to be Aaron Jones. It got to be Aaron Jones in PPR. I like Sutton. I think his prop line's right around 60.5, but Aaron Jones' combined line is definitely over 60.5 yards. And the Eagles do have a run funnel defense. Their secondary has been solid. Their run defense has been really bad in their last few games. Boyd or Palmer? I'd play Boyd over Palmer for sure. I see a Kenneth Walker question. There should be no Kenneth Walker questions. He's playing the Raiders. You have to start Kenneth Walker. I think I have him as a top 3, maybe running back this week. Let me pull up the running back rankings. I have number 4. Only CMC, Derrick Henry, and Austin Eckler rank ahead of Kenneth Walker for me. You got to start Kenneth Walker, even over JT. Boyd or Curtis Samuel? Yeah, I'm going Boyd over Curtis Samuel for sure. We're not starting Julio Jones. Absolutely not. And Greg Dortch is not playing. So Curtis Samuel over Julio Jones and Dortch. Dortch is not playing. Zach Ertz is not playing. And Rondale Moore is not playing. Let's run through the injuries again real quick because there is a lot of them, guys. There's a lot of injuries. Leonard Fournette is out. Joe Mixon is out. Jamar Chase is out. Justin Fields, Mike Williams, Matt Stafford, Raheem Mostert, Allen Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Greg Dortch, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz, Jalen Warren, Isaiah Likely, Kadarius Toney, and McCole Hardman are out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out again. Renfro and Waller still on the IR. Romeo Doubs, Darrell Henderson, Russell Gage. All these injuries will impact this week. I think the biggest ones, obviously Matt Stafford, Justin Fields. I mean, those are huge injuries that are going to really set their teams back. But Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon being out, huge for Rashad White, huge for Samaje Perine. We also know Raheem Mostert's out. That's huge for Jeff Wilson. I like Rashad White and Jeff Wilson a lot more than Samaje Perine. I think they're both just much more talented than him. And I think that, Sam, I promise, last question, Sutton or Terry PPR? Yeah, I think I would go. Let me pull this up again really quick, the wide receiver rankings. Are they both on my top 15? Yeah, they're really close. Look, I think I would go Sutton over Terry only because of that field, the potential field conditions for Terry versus Sutton. But yeah, it's super close. And then back-to-back in my rankings, I would go Sutton in a PPR league, though. Kamara or Latavius Murray? Yeah, you got to go Kamara. Oh, we got a WalterPicks TikTok subscriber. Shout out to the TikTok subscribers. You guys are another big support for me. Dolchich or Higbee, please, before the game. Yeah, I got you. If you subscribe to the TikTok live, I got you, man. I'm going to answer your comments. Like, I'm just going to. And yeah, I would go. If you come to the YouTube live too, you'll see my top 15 rankings. And I think you do go Higbee over Dolch, but you got to monitor the Higbee injury status because there's a chance they do hold the Higbee out. There's absolutely a chance that happens. He's questionable. Seems like he's on the right side of questionable. And there's no Allen Robinson. There's no Cooper Kupp. So you do kind of have to feel kind of good about Tyler Higbee in that situation. We should have more clarity, I think, on that injury status though very soon, in the next hour or so. But yeah, generally speaking, I would go Higbee. Here's what one executive on a team linked to Odell said. It sounds like it will be Dallas. Sounds like it's going to be Dallas for Odell Beckham Jr. It does feel like they've done the most recruiting for him. That will be very interesting to watch. I do hope we see Odell Beckham Jr. back very soon. Another guy, by the way, that is not, you're not going to see him this week. They already played this week, obviously, the Lions. But Jameson Williams, guys, I've been saying this for 4 months now. Basically 4 months. I've been saying Jameson Williams was the free square in fantasy this season. He was going undrafted in fantasy leagues, and you could stash him on the IR in basically every league. He's coming back, guys, and he was likely going to be the number one wide receiver taken in this stacked wide receiver class had he not torn his ACL in the national championship game. Jameson Williams can take the top off of defenses. I think he's going to be a better version of Mike Wallace. For those of you that remember the speed of Mike Wallace back with Big Ben and how good he was, I think Jameson Williams is better than that. I think that's the type of player he's going to be. And I think he's going to be at full steam by the fantasy football playoffs. I'm excited, man, for Jameson Williams. I have him on so many of my best ball teams too. So rooting for the best there. Hey, Sam, should I start George Pickens or Rachaad White? Got to be Rachaad White. Absolutely Rachaad White over George Pickens. Again, guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And the YouTube live is a little bit easier to digest info because you're not just going to get the guys that are out, must start, must bench on the YouTube live. You're also going to get my top 15 rankings every position, which answers like at least half the questions just right off the bat, plus my DraftKings lineup and my picks against the spread, all on the YouTube live. Another way, though, to just auto get your question answered on the TikTok live is subscribe to the TikTok live. It's another way to just directly support me and the brand. So I really do appreciate that. And the YouTube subs, the TikTok follows, all of it, guys. Like even if you're not actually spending any money in the WalterPicks app or in the as a TikTok live subscriber, like even just hitting the follow button, hitting the subscribe button helps me out like way more than you would realize. Taylor or White? I can't figure it out on the WalterPicks app. He's got to be JT. It's got to be JT over White, in my opinion. Yeah, and sometimes it is close in the app. And sometimes too, like ultimately you got to make your own start-sits decisions. Should I trade Kamara plus OBJ for Chubb? PPR? No, I wouldn't do that in a PPR league. I'd prefer Kamara over Chubb. I don't think OBJ really has value in fantasy still until we see him back and playing a big role in any offense. Sorry if this was asked before. No need to apologize, Scott. Aaron Jones or Rachaad White? I would go Rachaad White over Aaron Jones. At PPR, half PPR, and non-PPR, I would go with Rachaad White. Let me pull up the running back rankings on the YouTube live, seeing requests for those. And there's a lot of interesting running back options this week. Latavius Murray can be considered. Samaje Perine can be considered. I don't have either of those guys in my top 15, though. I do have Rachaad White in my top 15. I do have Jeff Wilson in my top 15. I do have James Conner, Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, Najee Harris in my top 15. David Montgomery's in there too. Josh Jacobs still in there as well, despite the slight injury concerns with him. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good running back options this week. And Latavius Murray, Samaje Perine absolutely can be considered. All right. So apparently someone vandalized the Browns field, the Cleveland Browns field. Someone drove onto the field with their car and did literal donuts on the Browns field. I'm seeing a photo of it on Twitter right now from Field Yates. Don't think it has any impact on the game, but I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. Pretty ridiculous. All right. Let's get back to some of these starts. Let me pull my picks against the spread too. One more time on the YouTube live. We are 53% against the spread. Komet or Njoku. Yeah, you can't start Komet. Why is Russell Wilson a start? He's not. He's not a start. That's Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is a start. Jeff Wilson is a start. Not Russ. Not Was. Not Russ. Was. Okay. Not seeing any TikTok live subscriber comments. Again, if you do come to the YouTube live, you can see my top 15 rankings for free every position. And if you subscribe to the TikTok live, you'll get your comment answered instantly every single live stream. All right. Samaje Perine is not a guy I trust a ton, but he can be started in some spots. I need the other side of the start sit, though, to really know. Juju or Peoples-Jones? I would go Juju over Peoples-Jones. Peoples-Jones, one of the most underrated receivers in fantasy this entire season. Allen Robinson is out. Yep, A-Rob is out. Tyler Higbee is questionable. Cooper Kupp's obviously out. Matt Stafford is out. I mean, the Rams are going to get crushed, guys, by the Chiefs. You got to like the Chiefs defense. I am playing them in my DraftKings lineup. Let me pull up my DraftKings lineup again on the YouTube live. All right. Foreman, Kyron Williams, or Jerick McKinnon. I'm not starting Kyron Williams. I don't hate McKinnon. Like, McKinnon's going to see close to half the snaps for the Chiefs. I think I would go McKinnon, honestly. It's close with Foreman. I feel like Foreman probably projects better. The Broncos' pass defense is better than their run defense, but Foreman also, he's shown us his floor is really low too. I think McKinnon, if this is a PPR league, it's McKinnon. If it's not a PPR league, I don't think I'd go McKinnon. Again, that's why I really think you got to check out the WalterPicks app because it also accounts for your guys' custom scoring settings. Like if this is PPR versus non-PPR, it really does make a big difference. So check out the WalterPicks app, completely free to download. iOS and Android App Store, found right in the TikTok bio or the YouTube description. Best way you could tell me I was just downloading and checking out the app. All right, Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara. Yeah, it's Alvin Kamara and Kenneth Walker for me over Nick Chubb. Tough matchup for Chubb this week against the number 2 Buccaneers run defense. Have that said, Fields is out for sure. Yeah, so I think he is out for sure. I think I did read he's almost definitely out. maybe not like officially official. Let me pull it up. Yeah, he's out. Schefter already tweeted that he will be inactive. So yeah, all the guys that are out here that I've listed out, like they're out pretty confidently. I would be shocked if any of these guys listed out are going to play. Leonard Fournette out, Joe Mixon out, Jamar Chase out, Justin Fields out, Mike Williams out, Matt Stafford out, Raheem Mostert out, Allen Robinson out, Kyle Pitts out, Jerry Jeudy out, KJ Hamler out, Greg Dortch, Rondale Moore out, Zach Ertz is out, Jalen Warren, Isaiah Likely, Kadarius Toney, McCall Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all out. Renfro and Waller still out. Romeo Doubs, Darrell Henderson, and Gage all out. Huge injury list today. And I'm not even including everyone that I could have included on that injury list. So, but yeah, all those guys out. Lockett or Montgomery. I'd go Lockett over Montgomery. I think this is close. Like Montgomery, I have him as a top 15 running back this week. I like the spot for him. I think he sees 20 plus touches in a really, really bad weather game where the Bears cannot move the ball. And I actually think all of the Bears players could sort of benefit from this Justin Fields injury for a fantasy football perspective, because he's not going to be running like Trevor Siemian's not going to run like Justin Fields. So Siemian's going to take no carries away from David Montgomery, and the offense in general. I think like we'll just have more touches to go around with Justin Fields out. I don't think he's a better quarterback than Justin Fields, so that probably downgrades the whole offense a little bit. But yeah, I'd go. I like Montgomery's floor, but Lockett also has a solid floor, and I really like his ceiling against the Raiders. I would be hesitant to bench Tyler Lockett. I love you, Sam. Juju Smith-Schuster or Terry McLaurin. I'm going Scary Terry over Juju. Start 2, PPR, ETN, Jeff Wilson, Rachaad White. Yeah, man, I like all these guys so much. I do have Rachaad White. I think, I have Rachaad White leading the way here. It feels weird. Like I want to start all these guys. I think you do go Rachaad White and Jeff Wilson, though. I really do think you go Rachaad White and Jeff Wilson. I have them both top 7 options. I like Jeff Wilson's floor so much this week. Again, his over-under is 82.5 rushing yards, and I think he's going over that. He's the free player prop of the day, over 82.5 rushing yards. But I also like the Rachaad White reception line, over 3 receptions on Prize Picks. That seems like stealing to me in a windy, rainy game. Rachaad White with no Leonard Fournette. We've seen Fournette see some pretty considerable target volume this season. Rachaad White was a 99th percentile receiver in college. He got targeted more than 99% of running backs in their college days. That's what that means. I mean, huge receiving ability for Rachaad White. He played 65% of the snaps last week. No targets, but he's had at least 3 targets in basically every other game since week 4. And again, no Leonard Fournette in this game. We know he's a really good receiver. We know it could be tough to throw the deep ball for Tom Brady in this windy, rainy game. So yeah, I like that reception line as well for Rachaad White. All right, pick one. Ryan, Pacheco, Boyd at flex just subbed. I think I would go Boyd here. I'd go Boyd, then Pacheco, then Ryan. I think that's how I'd rank these guys in a PPR league. I do really like Boyd against the Titans. Good matchup for Boyd and Jamar Chase. Sam, I've been leaning on you for advice for the past 2 fantasy seasons. Thank you very much, man. I got you, Connor. I got a question for you. Do you think I should start DJ Moore or Josh Palmer in my flex? Yeah, I'd go Palmer. I don't think you can trust DJ Moore. It's a bad matchup against the Broncos. It's the worst possible matchup against the Broncos. I mean, he's playing Patrick Surtain in a really elite secondary, and I'd also just don't know what to expect from Sam Darnold. I think Josh Palmer, honestly, is much safer. And with Mike Williams out, I mean, Palmer's going to be, I think, playing a lot again, and he's showing some chemistry too. So I think that's definitely a good option there. Let me pull up this comment that was up for a second from Michael. Hey, Sam, what should I do with Dalvin Cook? Also, Montgomery or Chubb. Yeah, I would go Montgomery over Chubb. And with Dalvin Cook, at this point, I think you got to hold and hope. I think the talent's still there for Dalvin Cook, and I don't think you're going to get enough if you give away Dalvin Cook. So I think the move, honestly, is probably just to hold on to him and hope for some big games down the stretch. He's still the clear top back for the Vikings and still has a really high ceiling every week. Amari Cooper, Scary Terry. I would go Scary Terry over Amari Cooper this week. Kamara or Foreman. Got to play Alvin Kamara over Foreman. Come on. Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, Josh Palmer. Yeah, I'm going Michael Pittman over Godwin and Josh Palmer. I think I would go Godwin over Josh Palmer too. So, Ben, I think I'd go these first 2 guys. I still think I like Josh Palmer overall, but not more than Chris Godwin still. Gerald Everett or Devin Duvernay, PPR flex. Darren, man, this is brutal because I hate starting 2 tight ends. Like, it physically pains me to start 2 tight ends because it physically pains me just to start 1 tight end. I mean, I'm down so bad at the tight end position. I drafted Kyle Pitts in way too many leagues. We've had all these injuries at the tight end position with Darren Waller, a bunch of other players out most of the season. Gerald Everett's playing the Cardinals, man, and the Cardinals, they have not stopped any defense, any tight ends this whole season. Let me pull up my picks against the spread, see someone asking for that in the YouTube live. Meanwhile, Devin Duvernay is theoretically the top receiver for the Ravens, but he got really outplayed by Demarcus Robinson in their last game. It's not necessarily a great spot for him. Like it's close, man. I think I would go Gerald Everett. Honestly, I think I would go Gerald Everett. The Cardinals, they just don't stop tight ends. They don't stop. They're dead last against tight ends. Like there's not a tight end they've stopped. I don't like Gerald Everett in the flex, but this week I think it's viable. Start Olave or Juju. You had to go Olave over Juju Smith-Schuster. Miles Sanders or James Conner. Yeah, I have them both in my top 15 this week. I think I have James Conner maybe one spot ahead, 2 spots. Yeah, 2 spots ahead of Miles Sanders. It's a good matchup for both guys, but I do like James Conner just a little bit more. Would you go over Taysom? Yeah, I think I would go Dolch over Taysom. I have him 2 spots ahead of Taysom. I still think Taysom's ceiling is higher, Kylo, but I think Dolch's floor is maybe a little bit better. There's no Judy. There's no KJ Hamler again. Dolch has been seeing some pretty valuable deep targets too. So I do have Dolch rank ahead, and I'm okay playing Dolch over Taysom. But again, I like Taysom. I do like Taysom's ceiling this week. He played a season high 55% of the snaps last week. Why bench Christian Watson? Because he has a much tougher matchup than he's had. He's playing the Eagles' top 10 secondary this season against receivers for fantasy. I think he has a really, really low floor in a low volume role in the Packers offense. I do think Allen Lazard out catches Christian Watson in this game. I also will call out Garrett Wilson. I've seen some Garrett Wilson questions in the TikTok live. You can't start Garrett Wilson. You can't start Garrett Wilson. You can't start Darnell Mooney. You can't start Cole Kmet. You can't start Tyler Conklin. None of these Jets, Bears receiving options, you can't start them. This is going to be by far the worst weather game of the day. You got to be aware of this weather because it's going to be downpouring rain that gets even more and more heavy as the game goes on. So definitely something to be aware of. All right. Trevor Lawrence, Russ, or Derek Carr. Let me pull my QB rankings again on the YouTube live. That should answer that one for you. I do think the answer, though, is Derek Carr against the Seahawks. Anyway, I bench JT, Jonathan Taylor for Kirk or Juju. No, you can't bench Jonathan Taylor. You cannot bench Jonathan Taylor. Hey, Sam, Rashad White or James Conner, flex, full PPR subbed. Yeah, Ethan, you got to go Rashad White, man. Got to go Rashad White. Good spot for James Conner, but better spot, I think, for James White, Kamara, Olave, or Pittman. I still think I would go Kamara over Pittman and Olave, but it's close between him and Pittman. I like both of them more than Olave, though. Please help Sam. Pickens, Boyd, Keenan, Curtis Samuel, and Deontay start 2. Got to be Keenan. I think it's Keenan and Boyd. Yeah, I'd go Keenan and Boyd pretty confidently here between these two guys. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, on the YouTube live, a lot of your questions will be answered right away if you just come to the YouTube live. You're like 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube live. It's right in the TikTok bio, and I have my top 15 rankings for every position scrolling at the bottom of the YouTube live. Why Taysom Hill? So I play Everett over Taysom Hill still, but I would play Gerald Everett over Taysom Hill. But the reason I like Taysom Hill, he played a season high 55% of the snaps last week. He had 9 in his last game, 9 carries, 3 passing attempts. I mean, that's really, really elite opportunity for a tight end. 9 carries, 3 passing attempts for your tight end. Like that really is sort of a cheat code. And I think you could see more than that. There were some reports that came out after the game last game for the Saints that they started to realize that they were underutilizing one of their most reliable options in the offense over the last month or so. So we could see another uptick in usage for Taysom this week, and that just gives him such a high ceiling with how he gets used. So yeah, I do like Taysom. His ceiling. I'm still playing most of the best tight ends over him. Like I have him ranked number 10, but I'm playing him over David Njoku. I'm playing him over Evan Ingram, Robert Tonyan. Like these dusty tight ends don't have the same ceiling. Love that gift in the TikTok live. Shout out for everyone tossing gifts in the TikTok live. Appreciate you guys. All right. Let's pull up the wide receiver rankings. Brady or Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, I think I would go Brady over Trevor Lawrence. Even with the weather issues there. Rashad White or JT? I'd go JT. Why Higbee when he's questionable? Yeah, so we got to wait and see. But Allen Robinson's out. Cooper Kupp's out. Like I just think that he's in line for target volume more so than most tight ends if he does play. But we do have to monitor the Higbee situation. The Bears QB Justin Fields is officially inactive. So it's going to be Trevor Siemian versus Mike White today. We should be getting some more injury reports over the next 30 minutes or so. Paris Campbell, Pickens, Watson, Lazard, or Olave. It's got to be Olave here. I think it's between him and Campbell for me. But yeah, I don't trust Christian Watson this week. It's a tough matchup for him. He's had really good matchups. Tougher matchup for him this week. Montgomery or Palmer. I would go Monty over Palmer. Pacheco or P. Ryan. I do kind of like Pacheco more than P. Ryan. Is Higbee out? Higbee's questionable. So something to monitor with Higbee, but I do think he's on the right side of questionable. Latavius Murray or Jeff Wilson, got to be Jeff Wilson, man. It's got to be Jeff Wilson. Let me pull my running back rankings again in the YouTube Live. Again, come to the YouTube Live for my top 15 rankings. Every single position is for free right in the YouTube Live. We do have a TikTok Live subscriber. We'll make sure I get to that question here. Bench 1, Debo, Godwin, Rachaad White, David Montgomery. Yes, I think it's between these first two, and I think I would bench Debo. It's always scary benching someone as talented as Debo Samuel. And the reason I would consider Godwin is the weather in that game. Could be rainy and windy in that Buccaneers game, which I think bodes well for Rachaad White and bad news for Godwin and Evans. I'm not benching Dave Montgomery, though, with his workload. I think I would bench Debo. Shout out for subscribing to the TikTok Live, by the way. Another really good way to support me. Is Noah Fant a good play? Good is not the word I would use. Nope, good is not the word I would use. I would say, like, desperate play. Honestly, that's what I would call Noah Fant. A desperate play in fantasy. Godwin or Amari Cooper or David Montgomery, got to pick two. Yeah, I think I would go Godwin and Demont over Amari Cooper this week. Good morning, Sam. Should I start Jones or Montgomery? Let me pull up my running back rankings again. Yeah, I do have Monty a couple spots ahead of Aaron Jones. David Montgomery's locked in for 20-plus touches. He's playing the Jets. Not a horrible run defense, but in this weather, again, you got to be aware of this weather in the Bears-Jets game. One of the big things to be aware of just with this slate in general is how bad this weather is about to be in this Jets-Bears game. Absolutely downpouring rain. All right, let me get to this one. This looked like a well-informed question here in the YouTube Live. Hey, Sam, Sutton or Dameon Pierce in the PPR flex? I'd go Sutton over Dameon Pierce. Philip, how we doing, man? Sam, Pacheco, B-Rob, Burks, happy PPR, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you, Philip. Good to see you back in the YouTube Live, man. It's between Pacheco and Burks. You can't start B-Rob. You can't start B-Rob with the workload that Brian Robinson's been getting. Honestly, I think Pacheco's just the safest play. He's a 15.5-point underdog in this game, and he saw 15-plus carries each of the last two. Hasn't scored a TD yet. That'll probably change soon as a part of the Chiefs. So, yeah, I'm okay going Pacheco. Hey, Sam, how was Turkey Day? Need some help. Turkey Day was great, man. It's literally my favorite day of the year. It is Thanksgiving because you get football, you get family, you get food. Like, these are like my three basically favorite things in the world. So I love Thanksgiving. It was a great day. The Pats game was pretty disappointing, but the day was great. Christian Watson, Darnell Mooney, or Demarcus Robinson, full PPR. Love the app. This one is too close for me, though. Yeah, appreciate the shout out to the WalterPicks app, guys. It's going to help you answer all your start sit questions. It's going to help you with every decision point you have in fantasy, trades, draft, start sit, waiver wire. It's going to help you. The WalterPicks app is free to download, iOS and Android app store. I spent the last 3 years of my life building it, and I'm probably going to spend the next 3 years continuing to make it even better. So check it out. You won't regret it. Really do appreciate that. You can find the link to that in the YouTube and TikTok bios and descriptions. All right. Getting back to this question. Yeah, I'm out on Christian Watson because the Eagles secondary is much better than the Titans secondary that he just did really well against. And the secondary he played the week before that as well. I'm out on Darnell Mooney, though, because that game is going to be downpouring rain, and I want nothing to do with Trevor Siemian. Demarcus Robinson is also pretty sketchy. Honestly, I think this one is okay to go Christian Watson over Demarcus Robinson, over Darnell Mooney. I'm okay with that in this spot. But yeah, in general, I'm nervous for Christian Watson. So Burks, but he still has a ceiling. Again, I think he's like a slightly worse version of Gabe Davis. Worse quarterback situation, worse offense in general. Similar archetype of player, though, where he can have just a couple catches and go off, but also that gives him kind of a low floor because he might only end the game with 3 or 4 catches. That's Christian Watson. Burks, Watson, Hollywood, or Mooney. Yeah, so this one for me is between Burks and Hollywood. Again, you cannot start Darnell Mooney. You can't start Garrett Wilson in this Bears-Jets game. The weather is going to be just so brutal in this game. So get them off your radars. Mooney cannot be trusted. Hollywood has a really high ceiling. I'd argue is by far the highest ceiling of between him and Burks. Burks has a kind of an intriguing ceiling, though, for me, too. Like, personally, I would go Burks. I'm nervous for Hollywood only because of the injury. And I've been off on some of this stuff because, like, it's very to know and how much Marquise Brown's going to play coming off the injury, similar to the Keenan Allen situation last week. I thought he was a must bench. He ended up over 90 yards. So, that, like, really tough to know for sure. If you think Marquise Brown, though, is going to play his normal 90% plus snap share, you should probably start Marquise Brown over Traylon Burks. I'm just not so sure that's going to be the case. I'm a little nervous about that uncertainty. That's why I'm going Burks over Hollywood Brown for me personally. Again, that could easily backfire, and in full health, you got to go Hollywood, though. Hey, Sam, pick 2, Olave, Pittman, Ayuk, Latavius Murray. It's for sure Pittman. Pittman's this is really a pick one between Olave, Ayuk, Latavius Murray. I think it's between Olave and Murray. Murray's definitely startable. Similar to Samaje Perine, like Murray should see 20-plus touches, but he's also not very good, and he's not in a very good offense. So I think I would go Olave over Latavius Murray. I'd play Olave over Samaje Perine as well. Hey, Sam, Juju or Perine in the flex. Non-PPR. Yeah, non-PPR league, you got to go P-Ryan. In non-PPR league, Murray and P-Ryan, all these running backs in non-PPR formats that are going to get carries. Jeff Wilson, huge boost in non-PPR formats. So, yeah, definitely I would go with him. Hey, Sam, Watson or Campbell or Van Jefferson, pick one. Now, I'm going Paris Campbell over Christian Watson, over Van Jefferson. I want nothing to do with Bryce Perkins for the Rams. I want nothing to do with the entire Rams offense. Higbee's the only one I would have some hope for if he plays. I think he can be started in a lot of spots at tight end because he could see 10 plus targets. But I want nothing to do with Van Jefferson. I'm nervous for Christian Watson. I like Paris Campbell a decent amount against the Steelers too. Sam, how we doing, man? Shout out to everyone, by the way, in this live. We got about an hour left till we wrap up. So plenty of time. We got some news coming out too. I'll get to that in a second. Trevor Lawrence or Mariota, and also Pierce or Pacheco or Lazard. I think I would go Mariota. Actually, let me see. Let me pull up the QB rankings here really quickly. No, I wouldn't. I would go Trevor Lawrence against the Ravens instead of Mariota. And then Pierce, Pacheco, or Lazard. Yeah, this one's close too. I think I would go Pierce, then Pacheco, then Lazard. It's close between Pierce and Pacheco, though. Again, I like Pacheco because he's a 15.5-point favorite against the Rams. And he saw 15-plus carries each of his last two games. And there's still no Clyde, still no McCole Hardman. But McKinnon will mix in a lot. So it's close. Pierce is going to be losing, trailing against the Dolphins. He's a 14-point underdog. A huge difference here. Pierce is a 14-point underdog, and Pacheco's a 15.5-point favorite based on the spreads this week. So honestly, I kind of want to change my answer. I think I would go Pacheco over Dameon Pierce this week. Hey, Sam, please help. Sanders, Aaron Jones, or A.J. Brown. You got to go A.J. Brown. You're not benching A.J. Brown. No benching A.J. Brown. Olave or Kenneth Walker. Got to go Kenneth, man. No benching Kenneth. No benching Kenneth. And I would definitely play Rachaad White over Dameon Pierce as well. Again, come to the YouTube live if you're watching live on TikTok, and you'll see my top 15 rankings, every single position. And I got my running back rankings up right now. White, James Conner, or Miles Sanders. I think that was the TikTok live subscriber question here. Let me get back to this. Yeah, I would go Rachaad White, then James Conner, then Miles Sanders. Rachaad White, then James Conner, then Miles Sanders. I've got Etienne, Pacheco, Rachaad White, and Jeff Wilson. Which two get the start? Yeah, it's got to be Rachaad White and Jeff Wilson, I think, over Etienne. This one's tough. I don't like benching Travis Etienne, but I do really like Jeff Wilson, and I really like Rachaad White this week too. I think Jeff Wilson has just such a high floor. Jeff Wilson's over-under rushing line today is 82.5 rushing yards. And I think he's going over that. He's actually the free player prop of the day. I like him over 82.5 rushing yards against the dead last Texans run defense. No Raheem Mostert. He saw 17 carries last game with Raheem Mostert. Now no Raheem Mostert, so that feels like his floor against the worst run defense in the league. P-Ryan or Boyd, I'd go Boyd over P-Ryan. Sutton versus Boyd is close. Bro, I actually benched Etienne for Wilson Jr. before I saw this. Yeah, I think you have to. Hey, Sam, pick two. Latavius Murray, P-Ryan, or Juju. Will Sully, how we doing, man? These ones are close. Like I like Latavius Murray a little bit more than P-Ryan, I think, against the Panthers versus against the Titans, and then Juju versus the Rams. Like, yeah, I think I would bench P-Ryan. I think I would bench P-Ryan there in that spot. But all those guys are definitely really close. Hey, Sam, start two Keenan Allen, Godwin, or Evans, and your videos on who to start on TikTok are so helpful. I love these videos. Just want to thank you for that. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate that. Love the positivity I'm seeing today, guys. Positivity, negativity, both extremely contagious. Remember that and how you influence other people. Be a positive light man in the world. Just be positive. Choose to be positive and not negative. There's a lot of negativity out there. So I do appreciate that. All right. Keenan Allen, Godwin, or Evans. Yeah, I'd go Keenan. I would go Keenan over Godwin and Evans this week. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings again here on the YouTube live. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, links in the TikTok bio, you can see my top 15 rankings, every single position for completely free. And that answers a lot of the questions just right there. But yeah, I like Keenan more than the Buccaneers receivers, partially because of the weather in the Bucs game. There's going to be some wind gusts over 25 miles an hour potentially in this Buccaneers game. That's a really concerning threshold for them to be crossing. It's not going to be sustained winds over 25 miles an hour. That's like sort of what we saw in the Jets-Pats game a couple weeks ago, and really hard to throw the ball in that weather. By the way, I mean, I know Zach Wilson's been bad, but I mean, poor Zach Wilson. Nobody even remembers that his last game was, I mean, a horrible weather game, like really bad wind, like really hard to throw. I know you can't blame all of Zach Wilson's problems on the wind, but I mean, pretty tough that nobody was including that in the Zach Wilson discourse. But yeah, I'd go Keenan Allen over Godwin and Evans. I do think there's some added risk for Godwin and Evans. I'm still starting them in most spots, but with the wind and potential rain in that game, I'm a little nervous for them. Hey, Sam, Chubb or Connor? Yeah, I'm going Connor over Chubb, man. It's tough to bench Nick Chubb. He's one of the most efficient running backs in the league, has been for quite some time now. but it's not a good matchup for him again. He had back-to-back tough matchups. Last time was up against the Bills. He went under 10 fantasy points. This week he gets an even tougher matchup against the Bucs, who have been the number 2 run defense in the league. So yeah, I'm nervous for him. Sam, do I start Olave, Burks, Devontae Smith, or Pickens? Yeah, I'd go Olave over all those guys, then Burks, then Devontae Smith, then Pickens. I'd rank these guys, I think, in this order. Also, should I move one of those guys to my flex? Currently have Michael Carter. Yeah, I would. I think I would play Traylon Burks over Michael Carter. It's close. And Burks may be a little riskier than Michael Carter, but I like Burks, man. 8 targets last game. Low-key breakout game for Traylon Burks, who's by far the most talented receiver on the Titans. And I think the Bengals will score enough to have the Titans throw enough that will make Traylon Burks usable this week. I like Traylon Burks as a sneaky sleeper this week. Hey, Sam, please help. Moreau or Hurst, thank you so much. Yeah, let me pull up my tight end rankings. You're down bad here at tight end. I mean, it's probably not going to end very well, Brad, between these two tight ends, but that's just where we're at in the fantasy season. I mean, it's so brutal at tight end. I do have Hayden Hurst ranked ahead of Foster Moreau. I have them both ranked ahead of Taysom Hill, but I would argue Taysom Hill has a higher ceiling than both of these guys. He had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts in his last game, season high 55% snap share for Taysom. So I'd see if he's available too. But yeah, I do have Hurst ranked above Moreau. I would go Hurst against the Titans. Good matchup against the Titans secondary for the whole Bengals. Passing attack, QB rankings. So let me pull up the QB rankings. Here's someone saying, good morning. I love the good mornings at this point in the live because I've been up. I mean, I've been up for basically 7 hours. I've been up for 7 hours. So it does not feel like the morning to me. With Fields out, do I start Heineke or Mariota? I would go Heineke. And there's no safe points here, Austin. There's no safe points here. But he is playing the Falcons. And that's good. Obviously, Mariota against the Commanders is not bad either. But I would go Heineke. Hey, Sam, I have to leave the live, but thank you so much for all your help. I got you, Zach. Appreciate you tuning in. Yo, Sam, please help. Latavius Murray, Antonio Gibson, or Juju in PPR. Yeah, I'd go Gibson. I would go Gibson over Juju and Latavius Murray, especially in a PPR league. I think Gibson for sure gets more pass catching work than Latavius Murray. With J.D. McKissic out, I mean, Gibson's seeing a pretty solid receiving role. So I like him a lot. Hey, Sam, must-win game here. All right, let me pull this one up. We're all in must-win games this time of the year. Let's get to this. Pick 3 non-PPR. Walker, White, Gibson, Kamara, Olave. I have the first 3. Those return yards help Gibby a lot. Yeah, I don't know if is he still returning punts with J.D. McKissic out. It's tough for me to factor in the return yards. You're going to have to do that on your own. But generally speaking, you're not benching Kenneth Walker. I don't think you should bench Rachaad White, and I don't think you should bench Kamara. I think these are pretty elite options that I would play over Antonio Gibson and Chris Olave. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, you can see my top 15 rankings of the running backs, and all of these guys are in there. These 3 running backs that you listed in this comment. Is Sauce out? No, I don't think Sauce is out. Actually, thank you, though, for asking that, because we do got to get to some of this news, because news is coming out. All right. Jets, James Robinson is inactive, a healthy scratch. James Robinson out. That's pretty intriguing news, honestly, for Michael Carter. I think we do got to move him up a little bit against the Bears. Bad run defense, really, really bad weather game. I mean, Michael Carter now, low-key, could see 20-plus touches, too. So Michael Carter very much gets a boost with James Robinson out. Let me update this really quickly in the WalterPicks app as well. That's pretty big news. A healthy scratch for James Robinson. I think that really does make Michael Carter a pretty elite option. And yeah, we have him as a back end top 15 running back now, number 16 or 15 in the running back rankings all of a sudden for Michael Carter. Again, James Robinson out, inactive, healthy scratch. Jamar Chase officially inactive. It's going to be Zonovan Knight and Ty Johnson backing up Michael Carter. I've never heard of Zonovan White. And when I've never heard of a player, I mean, that's pretty crazy. That means they basically have never played before. So Zonovan White is an undrafted rookie out of North Carolina State. He's 21 years old. I don't think he's going to play really at all. Ty Johnson might play a little bit behind Michael Carter. But yeah, Michael Carter, huge upgrade here with this news that James Robinson is a healthy scratch this week. We have him as a top 20 running back option. Now, Kyle Rudolph, Leonard Fournette, Russell Gage, all officially inactive. Vita Vea is active for the first time in a while. Caleb Huntley is active against the Commanders. Darrell Henderson is inactive for the Jaguars, so fire up Travis Etienne again with a lot of confidence. Eno Benjamin is inactive for the Texans, so continue to trust the workload for Dameon Pierce. Terrace Marshall is active. Justin Fields, inactive. Albert O, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, all inactive. Isaiah Likely officially inactive. Raheem Mostert officially is not playing. All this news we sort of already knew is getting confirmed. The biggest new news, though, is Michael Carter. Guys, Michael Carter is not competing with James Robinson anymore. James Robinson was a healthy scratch this week. That's pretty big. Sam, please help. Heineke or Brady? Yeah, I would go Brady over Heineke. Thank you, Sam, once again for the help. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the day. Thank you, man. You as well. White or P. Ryan? I'm going White over P. Ryan all day long, man. I don't love P. Ryan. I really don't. I know he scored 3 touchdowns. It was a huge play last week. Why is Watson must bench? Because he's playing the Eagles. Really tough matchup for him. I think his floor is really low. I liked him a lot last week, but he was playing the Titans last week, and he doesn't get the Titans every week. By the way, I love that you take your time to do this every week. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you being here as well. Devontae Smith or Paris Campbell is close. It's close, man. My gut tells me Devontae Smith here, but I do like Paris Campbell a lot against the Steelers. It's a better matchup for Paris Campbell than Devontae Smith. The Packers secondary has been good this season, and their run defense has been bad, and that could be a lot of running for the Eagles offense given that spot. So I'm okay going Paris Campbell, even though my gut's saying Devontae Smith. Hey, Sam, good morning. Should I start Olave or Sutton and Jeff Wilson Jr. or Connor? Start Jeff Wilson. Guys, start Jeff Wilson. He's seen really good workloads with Raheem Mostert. Now Raheem Mostert's out, and he gets the dead last run defense in the league. This is a smash spot for Jeff Wilson. He's the top 7 running back this week. So you got to start Jeff Wilson over James Conner. And then Olave versus Sutton is super, super close. I actually think their prop lines are really close together. But I would personally be playing Sutton over Olave. All right, the player prop of the day, speaking of Jeff Wilson, it's Jeff Wilson. Over 82.5 rushing yards. I think he flies past this. He had 17 carries in his last game. That was with Raheem Mostert. Now there's no Raheem Mostert. He's a 14-point favorite, 15-point favorite against the Texans. Jeff Wilson's getting 20-plus carries against the dead last run defense. You got to feel good about Jeff Wilson, I think, this week. Rashad White or Aaron Jones? I do have White ranked ahead of Aaron Jones. I feel good about Rashad White this week in a check down Tom Brady role. Another quick shout out, guys. We are live on YouTube and TikTok. And on the YouTube live, I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's comments. We have over 1,000 people in this live across YouTube and TikTok. So I do my best to get to as many starts as I can. But on the YouTube live, you can see my top 15 rankings every single position. So that is the best way to get your comments, most of these comments answered. So come to the YouTube live. Links right in the TikTok bio. You're like 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube live if you're watching live on TikTok. But I will get to as many comments as I can as well. The other place to go, though, is the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android App Store, which will also account for your custom league settings. Hey, Sam, I have an important question. Pick 2 flex PPR. Lockett, Kirk, Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, and Cordell Patterson. Thank you. Yeah, Cordell can't be started over any of these guys. You can't start at this point. You can't start Cordell over Lockett. You can't start Cordell over Kirk. You can't start Cordell over Montgomery or Antonio Gibson. So let's remove him from the question. Lockett and Kirk, Montgomery, and Antonio Gibson. Yeah, I think I would go Lockett and Montgomery or Lockett and Kirk. I mean, all 4 of these guys are solid options, but I think I would lean Lockett and Montgomery. Sam, Paris Campbell or Marquise Brown. Not sure how many targets to expect for Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood is in a really wide range of outcome situation here, and that's why I have him as a must bench. He's so risky in these must win fantasy weeks. Like, he really could not play very much. It's very possible, even with all these injuries, that they ease Marquise Brown back in. It absolutely is possible. He's a little ahead of his injury timeline too, which makes it even more likely maybe he's eased in a little bit more slow. But if he does play, and which is definitely possible, that he plays like his normal 90% snap share, you're going to want to start Marquise Brown over Paris Campbell. So that's why this one's tough, and I would play Paris Campbell over Hollywood Brown personally. But you got to make the risk reward decision yourself. There absolutely is a big potential reward though with Marquise Brown. I see someone asking for the wide receiver rankings. Let me pull those up. Okay. Let's pull up the DraftKings lineup here as well on the YouTube live. Ravens or Jags to win. Yeah, I do like the Ravens, but I'm taking the Jags plus 3.5 against the spread. Waddle or Godwin. You're not benching Waddle. You can't bench Waddle. Waddle or Boyd. You can't bench Waddle. Miles Sanders or Allen Lazard. I'd go Miles Sanders. Patterson or McLaurin. I would definitely go McLaurin over Patterson. Some other must bench players, by the way. Everyone on the Bears passing game, everyone in the Jets passing game needs to be benched. This game has downpour rain that's going to get even worse as the game goes on. So definitely need to be aware of that situation in the Bears Jets game. Also, James Robinson, a healthy scratch. That's great news for Michael Carter. ETN or Monty? I would go ETN over Monty. Why start Boyd if Chase is back? Chase is not back. Jamar Chase is out. Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon are both out. So, yeah, that's why you got to start Boyd. Jamar Chase is still out. He was close to coming back, but he's still out. He sounds like he's going to be back next week, though. Higbee is out. I think he's questionable. I've not seen him be officially ruled out yet. I don't know if anyone else can confirm that they think Higbee's out. I think he is questionable. The last I saw, at least. Logan Thomas is active. Last I saw was Tyler Higbee was on the right side of questionable. White or Walker, you cannot bench Kenneth Walker. As much as I like Rachaad White this week, you just can't bench Kenneth Walker against the Raiders. Miles Sanders or Rachaad White, I like Rachaad White more. I like Kenneth Walker, though, a lot. Montgomery or Pacheco, I'd go Monty over Pacheco. Good morning, Sam. Brandon, not morning for me anymore. I've been up for 7 hours. This feels much like the middle to late part of the day for me, Brandon. But good morning. Happy Sunday. Pick 2 full PPR, Cordero Foreman, Gus Edwards. Yeah, so this one I think I would play Cordero. I don't feel great about Gus Edwards, especially at full PPR. I think I'd go Cordero and Foreman here. PPR boss man. Pick one, please. Kamara, Gus Edwards. Yeah, you got to go Kamara. And Michael Carter gets a boost, but I'm not playing him over Alvin Kamara. I would play Michael Carter over Gus Edwards, though. Hey, Sam, I need this win. Do I put Cordero at flex or Cortland Sutton? I would go Sutton personally over Cordero. Walter, do I start Najee Harris or Miles Sanders at RB2? Classic mistake, man. Don't worry about it. My name is actually Sam. Walter is the AI algorithm I helped build that powers the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app store. That's why it's called WalterPicks. But my name's Sam. It's a classic mistake again. Don't worry about it. I would go Najee Harris, though, over Miles Sanders. I have Najee Harris as the top 12 running back, and honestly, that might be too low on Najee. Najee is coming off his best 2 games of the season, and Jaylen Warren's out. He's going to play 80% of the snaps. At least he's going to see a really elite workload. Yo, Sam, pick one for flex. Paris Campbell, Traylon Burks, Donovan People, Jones. Yeah, I would go Burks, then Paris Campbell, then Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I will say Donovan Peoples-Jones may be the biggest sleeper of all fantasy. He's been crazy consistent. He's been over 40 yards, I think, basically every game. Yo, Sam, pick one. Yeah, I just did this one. Yeah, I would go Burks. I would go Burks, though, I think. Then Campbell, then Donovan Peoples-Jones. Sam, Jeff Wilson, CMC, Kenneth Walker, pick 2. I mean, Andy, this is the first question all day where I'm going to tell you to bench Jeff Wilson because you're not benching Christian McCaffrey, and you can't bench Kenneth Walker. So you're benching Jeff Wilson in that spot. Again, let me pull my running back rankings, which you can see on the YouTube Live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 15 rankings every position on the YouTube Live. And yeah, Kenneth is number 4. CMC is number 1 or number 2. PPR format, especially, you can't bench either of those guys. You just can't do it. Olave, Terry, or White. I would go White over Olave and over Terry. I agree with Pat Freiermuth on your tight end rankings. Usually you have him low. Yeah, I do. And this is the thing, Andrew. You got to understand this about me. And I think part of what sets me apart a little bit as a content creator is I really work hard not to suffer from take lock. I try not to lock into takes, and I try to own up to where I'm wrong and adjust as the season goes on. I think that's honestly the most important thing in fantasy is adjusting to new information. And I was too low on Muth. I've been a little bit too low on Schultz for the bulk of the season too. I know Schultz is dealing with a lot of injuries, which is always tough to feel out. But yeah, I mean, Muth is seeing really, really elite volume without Chase Claypool operating the middle of the field too for the Steelers. I mean, he really is a big part of this offense. He had 12 targets last game. I mean, most receivers aren't getting 12 targets in a game. He was the number 4 tight end literally last week. He's been a top 12 tight end 3 of his last 4 games now. I really do like Muth. I think he's a pretty solid start this week. And yeah, I have him pretty high in my tight end rankings for that reason. I have him number 4, only after George Kittle. And I think there's a case to have him ahead of George Kittle even. George Kittle's in a pretty crowded offense too. So I think it's close. But yeah, I think Muth is a top 4 option at tight end with all the guys that have already played, obviously. Latavius Murray or Cordero Patterson, PPR, I'd go Murray over Cordero Patterson. I think he's a little bit safer. I don't love Latavius Murray. I don't love Samaje Perine, but these guys should see some pretty good work. Same thing with Michael Carter. White or Najee, I would go White over Najee, but it's close. Why start Taysom Hill? Because he's had a season-high 55% snap share last week, and he saw 9 carries, 3 passing attempts. I think that's his floor. This week, there was all these reports after the game, too, that the Saints have sort of realized that they weren't using him enough, and that I think they view him as the 3rd most reliable option in the offense after Kamara, after Olave. And there's just not tight ends that are seeing carries and passing attempts. So he really does have a higher ceiling than most tight ends. Sutton or Olave, yeah, I'm going Sutton over Olave. Let me get to this question from Chase here. Should I trade Aaron Jones and Marquise for Miles Sanders and Mark Andrews and Pacheco? Yes, I would pull the trigger on this one. I would. Yeah, I would. App says no, but Marquise doesn't seem too important. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay pulling the trigger on this one. It's hard to know exactly what Marquise Brown's going to be, but I do like Mark Andrews. I really like getting Mark Andrews here. I like Miles Sanders and Pacheco as buys too, so I'm okay with this. Hey, Sam, love the app. Pick 2, PPR, Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Rachaad White. Yeah, so Josh Jacobs is in a weird spot because he's questionable. He picked up a late injury in the week, a calf injury too. And without the injury, man, you'd be starting Josh Jacobs with a lot of confidence, I think, over both of these guys. But with the injury, I still think you start him. I still think I would go Jacobs and White. But I think White is the most confident option here for me between these three guys. Again, I really like the check down option with Rashad White here today in a rainy, windy game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, Trevor Lawrence or Taylor Heineke? Yeah, I got T-Law, I think, ranked ahead of Heineke against the Ravens. Let me pull up the QB rankings here on the YouTube Live. Again, come to the YouTube Live for my top 15 rankings, every single position. If you are watching live on YouTube, smash the like button and the subscribe button. And if you are watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. It really does, guys. It helps me out so much more than you guys even realize. Rashad White, Walker, you guys, don't bench Kenneth. Do not bench Kenneth for the whole season. Like, you can't bench Kenneth. Hey, Sam, Higbee, London, Kyron. Yeah, it's London. It's London, Jake. You play Drake London over Higbee and Kyron. And there's no Kyle Pitts. London, I actually think London has legit league-winning upside. Nobody's really talking about Drake London because the Falcons' passing attack's been so brutal. But with Kyle Pitts out, Drake London actually has a really good playoff fantasy schedule too. So, yeah, I like Drake London. Start Keenan, Godwin, or Pierce at flex. Yeah, it's Keenan, man. It's Keenan. Keenan's back and healthy with Justin Herbert and no Mike Williams. Man, you got to fire up Keenan with a decent amount of confidence. Chiefs defense against a backup QB or Washington D, since they've been good. It's Chiefs. You got to start the Chiefs defense. Not only are they playing a backup QB, they're playing an offense that's been horrible this entire season without Cooper Kupp now and without Allen Robinson now and with a bottom 5 offensive line and a bottom 5 starting quarterback this week. Like, how are the Rams supposed to move the ball? There's almost no way they can. So, yeah, you got to go Chiefs defense. I'm playing them on my DraftKings lineup this week. Hey, Sam, great app. Thanks, man. Pick 2 Campbell, Evans, Murray. Yeah, I think you go Evans and Murray over Paris Campbell. I do think Paris Campbell's got some legs this week, but I think Evans and Murray are better options overall. I like Rashad White more than David Montgomery. Should I start Pickens or MVS in PPR? MVS is kind of an interesting sleeper, in my opinion, this week because there's still no Mecole Hardman and there's still no Kadarius Toney this week. Juju's back, but the secondary for the Rams hasn't been very good, and MVS low-key could lead this team in receiving after Travis Kelce. I don't hate going MVS. It's not a good matchup for Pickens against the Colts. Their secondary has been elite. Number 2 defense against receivers this season. Only better secondary this season against receivers has been the Broncos, which has me scared about DJ Moore this week too. Please, Sam. Pick 2, Juju, Godwin, Olave, Kamara, or Miles Sanders. Yeah, it's got to be Kamara. You got to go Kamara, and it's between Godwin and Sanders next. I actually think Sanders is a little bit safer than Godwin and Olave. I'm okay just going Kamara and Miles Sanders. Play the 2 stud running backs that you have. It's a good matchup for Miles Sanders this week, as I do think he goes back on track this week. Jeff Wilson or Jalen Waddle. Oh, man. Andrew, if this is PPR, I have a really tough time benching Jalen Waddle. I still think I'd probably go Waddle, but Jeff Wilson's floor is high. Jeff Wilson's rushing prop line is 82.5. His median projection today is over 80 rushing yards, and I think he's crushing that prop line too. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards today against the Texans. So I have a tough time benching Waddle and Jeff Wilson. I think Wilson is the safer floor play, though, and Waddle's the higher ceiling play. So I'd probably go Waddle. Sutton or Cooper, if it's PPR. Sutton or Cooper, yeah, I like Sutton more than Cooper. Hey, Sam, start 3, Najee, Connor, Damian Pierce, and P. Ryan. Love the app. Thanks, Gabriel. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS, Android App Store, you got to check it out. I would go Najee and Connor over Damian Pierce and P. Ryan. Oh, you got to start 3. I think I like Damian Pierce more than P. Ryan, too. I know Damian Pierce is coming off a big game, but I know P. Ryan's coming off a big game, but I like Damian Pierce more still. Why start Taysom? He's coming off a season-high 55% snap share. He had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts last game. I mean, he had 12 opportunities in the running and passing game, and you get to play him at tight end. Like, he really does have a higher ceiling than most tight ends, and he hasn't had that big game in a really long time. I think people are kind of sleeping on Taysom in this moment. I'm okay shooting for the upside with Taysom, though I still think there's some better options at tight end than Taysom Hill. I still have, obviously, Kelce, Mark Andrews. I have Kittle, Muth, Higbee, Everett, Hurst, and Dulcich, and Foster Moreau all ranked ahead of Taysom, but I only think a few of those guys have a higher ceiling than Taysom. Hey, Sam, stuck on this. Start 3, Pittman, McLaurin, Najee, Debo. Yeah, you bench Debo. I think you bench Debo. I know Debo's coming off one of his better games of the season, but I think in that spot, you can bench Debo. Those are really good options. Chiefs or Broncos? I go Chiefs defense. If you're talking about defenses there, I'd go Chiefs defense. Should I trade Derrick Henry and DJ Moore for Aaron Jones, CD, and Higgins? I'd be really careful, man, trading away Derrick Henry. I don't think I would do it. I really think Derrick Henry is the league winner right now. He gets to play the Texans in the fantasy playoffs. He has a couple other good matchups in the fantasy playoffs too. He gets so good when it gets cold out as well. He's seeing such elite usage. I would be careful trading away Derrick Henry. DK Metcalf, Higgins, Boyd. Please pick 2. Yeah, it's the first 2. I would go Metcalf and Higgins pretty confidently over Tyler Boyd. I'll pull up my wide receiver rankings on the YouTube Live again. As well, again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Come to the YouTube Live See my top 15 rankings every position. Guys, we are into the witching hour of this live stream. This is the true moment where wins become losses and losses become wins with your start to sit decisions in fantasy football. Shout out to everyone in this live, guys. Make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button over on TikTok. Really do appreciate you all being here. Hey, Sam, do I start Montgomery, Kirk, or Mike Evans? So I do have Mike Evans ranked ahead of Christian Kirk. There is some added risk, though, in that game with the weather. Potential wind gusts over 25 miles an hour. And there's going to be some potential rain in that game. But I still like Mike Evans more than Christian Kirk. But David Montgomery is the safest play here. He's going to see 20-plus touches against the Jets. No Khalil Herbert again. Really bad weather. No Justin Fields stealing rushing attempts either. Like, we could see a pretty big workload from Montgomery. It's not a great matchup against the Jets run defense, but I'm okay going Monty over Evans if you're playing it safe, or Evans over Monty if you want to shoot for the ceiling outcome. Olave or Mike Williams? Mike Williams is not playing. Not playing. Let's run through all the guys that are not playing because there's a lot of them. Olave, though, he does need to be started over Mike Williams. Mike Williams is out this week. Let me just update this really quickly. I got to update the app with the James Robinson news because that really does make Michael Carter very much a startable this week. I'm going to do that right now while I'm thinking about it. And then we'll just run through all the inactives again really quickly. Guys, there's so many guys out. I mean, there's so many guys out. And understanding how the players that are out are going to affect the other players on the team is probably the biggest edge you can get in fantasy these days. Like, you just got to be up to date on the news because your opponents are. And if they're not, like, you just get a huge leg up on them by understanding all the different injuries. Because there's a lot of injuries. All right. Let's run through it. First of all, the biggest ones. Let's start with the biggest injuries. So Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, out. Justin Fields, out. Matt Stafford, out. So Fournette, out. That's huge for Rachaad White. Got to fire up Rachaad White with a lot of confidence. Let me pull my DraftKings lineup while I'm talking through this. Matt Stafford's out. The Rams are 15-point underdogs against the Chiefs. They're starting Bryce Perkins, who we've seen in their last game. He's more of a running quarterback. He can't throw very well. I think Higbee is questionable too. Obviously, Cooper Kupp's out. A-Rob's out too, though. Like, if Higbee's out, like, no one on this offense can be trusted. If Higbee plays, I do think he's an okay tight end start because he could see 10 targets in a game that the Rams are going to get absolutely crushed. I also like Pacheco as a huge favorite against the Rams. Some more injuries. We got Raheem Mostert's out. So Jeff Wilson was already the lead back for the Dolphins. Now he gets even more or even less competition, and it's in the best possible matchup against the Texans, the dead last run defense in the NFL. You got to fire up Jeff Wilson with so much confidence today. And Samaje Perine was the lead back when Joe Mixon went down before. I still think Chris Evans mixes in. I still think Giovanni Bernard will mix in with Rachaad White too, but I'm more nervous about Chris Evans than I am Giovanni Bernard, and I also have more confidence in Rachaad White's talent than I do Samaje Perine. I don't think Samaje Perine is very good, so I think his floor is pretty low. I know he scored 3 touchdowns last week. Nico, thanks for the stars, man. I really do appreciate that. And if you are a TikTok live subscriber, I will get to your comment. I promise. Okay. Going through some more of these injuries really quickly. So Zach Ertz, Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch out. Marquise Brown back. He's startable. He has a really high ceiling. I just don't really know how much he's going to play in his first game back. That's why I have him as a must bench, but really he's a fringe bench. Like, you can shoot for the upside with Marquise Brown still in a lot of spots. Jaylen Warren is out. That's really big news for Najee Harris. He's going to see an 80% plus snap share. He's the top 12 running back this week too. Isaiah Likely out. Fire up Mark Andrews with a lot of confidence. I like Mark Andrews on DraftKings this week because I really think there's a decent chance he can outscore Kelsey this week specifically in a better matchup. No Isaiah Likely. No, obviously, Rashad Bateman. Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire all out. Fire up Pacheco with some confidence is a huge favorite, but also Juju back. He can be started. MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, kind of a sneaky play too with those other wide receiver injuries. Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller still out. Josh Jacobs was questionable, but it does look like he's going to play. Romeo Doubs, Darrell Henderson, Russell Gage, also all out. So many injuries. The last one that's not on here, James Robinson was a healthy scratch, which leaves Michael Carter as the clear top option for the Jets. And again, it's going to be the worst weather game of the day. Another thing you guys really need to be aware of is the weather in this Jets-Bears game. Downpouring rain from start to finish, and it's supposed to get worse as the game goes on. So be really careful with all the pass-catching options in this Jets-Bears game. Rachaad White versus Isaiah Pacheco. I'd go Rachaad White there over Isaiah Pacheco. All right, let's get back to some of these comments. What's wrong with B-Rob? Nothing's wrong with him. It's just feels like Antonio Gibson is playing ahead of him after their last game. So there's definitely some risk to B-Rob. And Antonio Gibson's also the better pass catcher, and so does J.D. McKissic. So it doesn't seem like B-Rob's going to carve out a pass catching role in this offense. So that really limits him in PPR leagues. But then he also got out-carried and out-snapped by Antonio Gibson last week against the Texans. So I think there's a pretty low floor there with B-Rob. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's very much touchdown dependent. Have a big one, need one running back, one flex, ETN, D-Hop, Chris Godwin, Christian Watson, James Conner, Najee Harris. Yeah, so get Christian Watson out of this question. I mean, all these other guys are so much better than him. I think you cannot be benching D-Hop. So you're starting D-Hop. And I think I'd play ETN over James Conner and Najee too. So yeah, I think I would go these first two guys. I think the first two guys are a higher tier above. For sure, D-Hop has to be started. Hey, Sam, please help. Do I start Gibson or Pierce at flex? I do like Antonio Gibson a little bit more than Dameon Pierce. I think I would go Gibson against the Falcons rather than Dameon Pierce against the Dolphins. It's close, though. White or Wilson Jr. need a big play. Yeah, so I have White one spot ahead of Jeff Wilson. And if you need a big play, I do think White is the move. But if you're trying to play it safe, I think Jeff Wilson is the move. Jeff Wilson's prop line is higher than Rachaad White's. Jeff Wilson's over-under is 82.5 rushing yards. For Jeff Wilson, the prop line for Rachaad White's 66.5. But Rachaad White's the better receiver of the two. His over-under receptions is 3. I think he goes over 3 receptions, by the way. I do like that prop line over on PrizePicks. I don't think Underdog has released a line for Rachaad White receiving that I've seen. Oh, they did. Over 3 receptions on Underdog, too. Yeah, I really like over 3 receptions for Rachaad White. I think Jeff Wilson's safer. I think Rachaad White's a higher ceiling because I think he has a better passing receiving day than Jeff Wilson. Hey, Sam, thanks for always streaming. 2 separate questions. Foster Moreau or Taysom, and start 2 Pittman, Kirk, Amari Cooper. Yeah, so personally, I have Moreau ranked ahead of Taysom, but if I'm making a start-sit decision there, I actually think I would go Taysom over Moreau because I just think the ceiling is so much higher for Taysom. He had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts last week, a season-high 55% snap share last week, and there's also reports after the game that they sort of realized over the last month that they haven't been using Taysom Hill enough. So I like Taysom over Moreau. And then start 2 Pittman, Kirk, Amari Cooper, full PPR. I would go these first 2 guys. I'd go Pittman and Kirk over Amari Cooper. Hey, Sam, love the stuff, but how do you feel about Foreman? Yeah, he's super sketchy. He's a really risky play. We already knew he wasn't very involved in the receiving game. He's on the Panthers, so that's sketchy in itself. He only had 11 carries, 24 scoreless yards, 0 catches last week. He's now gone under 5 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. We know there's a ceiling there, but the floor is so low with Foreman that I don't think he can be trusted in starting lineups. Sutton or Juju, start 1. Yeah, I'd go Sutton over Juju this week. I do like Sutton with no Judy, no KJ Hamler. I like Sutton a decent amount. Sutton or Rachaad White. I would play Rachaad White, though, over Sutton. Sam, should I start Njoku over Dolch? Yeah, let me pull up my tight end rankings one more time on the YouTube Live. Again, if we're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. You can see my top 15 rankings, every single position. Hi, Sam. Please help with my defense. I've lost 2 weeks in a row over wrong defense, Tennessee or Bucks. Yeah, I think I would go Bucks. I think I would go Bucks defense over the Tennessee defense. But my favorite defenses this week are the Bears, the Jets, and the Chiefs. Hey, Sam, do I start Boyd or Lockett and Alvin Kamara over Josh Jacobs? Yeah, here for sure. I would go Lockett over Boyd. And then Kamara versus Jacobs. I do think I have Jacobs 2 spots behind Kamara. And Jacobs is tough this week because of the late injury to his calf. It's hard to know if that's going to limit him or not. If that injury wasn't in play, I would definitely be playing Jacobs over Kamara. So it's super close, super close. I have them within 2 spots. Obviously, it's a better matchup for Jacobs than Kamara, but I'm okay going Kamara over Jacobs given the injury risk with Jacobs. Hey, Sam, Rachaad White or Aaron Jones? I'm playing Rachaad White over Aaron Jones. Gibson or Godwin? I would go Godwin over Gibson. Sam, please help me pick 2. Pierce, Carter, or Pirine. No PPR. I'm going the first 2. I like Carter more than Pirine now with this James Robinson news. I like Carter as a top 20 option. I think he's right outside the top 15. And then Dameon Pierce, I would play him over Pirine as well. Urgent. AJ Dillon or Kyron Williams PPR, thanks. And also thoughts on Chris Olave. Yeah, I like Chris Olave. I think he's a slightly tough spot for him this week, but I mean, he's seeing really consistent volume, very deep down the field. He's top 5 in the NFL in air yards. I really like his how he's been used this season. I think he's been the best rookie wide receiver in fantasy this season. AJ Dillon or Kyron Williams. I don't want anything to do with either of these guys. I kind of feel like Kyron Williams will touch the ball more than AJ Dillon, probably. It's kind of a run funnel defense for the Eagles. I could see AJ Dillon having a decent day on the ground, but yeah, I think I would go Kyron Williams over AJ Dillon at this point. Pretty down bad with the AJ Dillon stuff at this point. Rachaad White or Alvin Kamara? I would play Rachaad White over Alvin Kamara this week. It's tough benching Kamara, but I really like Rachaad White. Why is Taysom must start? Because he played a season high 55% of the snaps last week. In his last game, he had 9 carries, 3 passing attempts. Like, he just has a higher ceiling than almost every tight end. Like, through the way that he's used, he's throwing passes and running in the red zone. No other tight end's doing that. He basically is a running back that gets to throw the ball a few times a game. Juwan Johnson versus Taysom is very interesting. I do like Taysom more than Juwan Johnson, even though Juwan Johnson's been pretty solid. I have him as my number 15 tight end this week, though. I would play Taysom over him. I still think the ceiling is higher for Taysom. Why is Sutton a must start? Because Judy and KJ Hamler are out. He's the clear top option for Russ, and they're throwing enough that Sutton really should see pretty solid volume in this game this week. All right. Let's run through really quickly one more time just some of the injuries. So Leonard Fournette out, fire up Rachaad White. Joe Mixon out, Samaje Perine like a flex option. I don't love him, don't hate him. Jamar Chase out, fire up T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Burrow with a ton of confidence. The Titans secondary has been bad. 3rd worst defense against receivers this season. 7th worst defense against quarterbacks in fantasy this season. Judy and KJ Hamler out. Start Sutton with some confidence. Also, Latavius Murray is the backfield to himself this week. There's no Darrell Henderson. I think that's where he signed. He's not playing. Chase Edmonds out of the picture. Melvin Gordon out of the picture. Latavius Murray basically all by himself with Marlon Mack this week. I also want to call out that Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch, Zach Ertz out. DeAndre Hopkins, top 3 wide receiver option this week. And Marquise Brown's supposed to be back. That'll be interesting to monitor. Talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones. Yeah, so Donovan Peoples-Jones is probably in contention for the most underrated fantasy players. I think I do think that I would probably Kadarius Toney. Sorry, not Kadarius Toney. Jacoby Myers over Donovan Peoples-Jones as the most underrated player. But I mean, go look at the game logs for Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's gone over 50 yards in every single game since week 4. Every single game. He's gone over 50 yards in all but 2 games this season. He's seeing really consistent volume, and I really do think Donovan Peoples-Jones, once Deshaun Watson comes back next week, we're really close to the Deshaun Watson return. All of a sudden, he could even get better. So that's pretty interesting. Sam Kmet, or Njoku, and Amari Cooper, or Ayuka, or Traylon Burks. Ayuka the Bazooka, of course. You can't start Kmet. You can't start Kmet. You can't start any of the Bears, Jets, pass catchers. It's going to be absolutely downpouring rain in that game. So I would go Njoku over Kmet. And then Amari Cooper, Ayuk, Traylon Burks. I think I would go Coop in this one. I don't think I've said Coop in many questions today, but yeah, I would go Amari Cooper over Traylon Burks and Ayuk. Dolphins or Broncos or Steelers defense. I honestly feel like the Broncos, man, against Sam Darnold and the Panthers. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that one. I start Gus or Deontay Foreman. Yeah, I would go Gus over Deontay Foreman. PPR and start DJ Moore, Pickens, Woods, Peoples-Jones, or Collins. Start 1. Yeah, this one I honestly think is Peoples-Jones or Collins. Pickens in a tough spot this week too. Nathan Peterman starting. Oh, is that true? I thought it was. Wait, let me pull this up. Wait, is that like a? Oh yeah, wow. Oh my God. Trevor Siemian hurts his oblique in warmups today. I got to update this as well on the fly in the WalterPicks app. So instead of Trevor Siemian now, we have the 3rd string Bears option, which is Nathan Peterman. And I don't think most people even knew Nathan Peterman was on the Bears. I mean, like somehow it's going to get worse for the Bears than Trevor Siemian. We're going to go down to Nathan Peterman all of a sudden. I mean, this is getting bleak out there for the Bears. I mean, even more reason, guys. You cannot start. You cannot start any of the Bears pass catchers. You fire up the Jets defense with a solid amount of confidence as well. Trevor Siemian, a surprise injury. During warmups, he hurt his oblique. In other words, he looked at the weather of the day, and he looked at the Jets defense and was like, yeah, I think I'm going to sit this one out. So Trevor Siemian out. We have a gross slate of quarterbacks today. We got Nathan Peterman playing Mike White. We got Bryce Perkins playing for the Rams. Big news. Yeah, I mean, that really is big news. I'm just going to update here really quickly So again, that news was that Trevor Siemian got hurt in pregame warmups. That's the backup to Justin Fields. Justin Fields is out. Now Trevor Siemian is out, and now we got Nathan Peterman. I mean, we've seen him before. He is really bad. I think he was on pace at one point to like break the interception record in the game or something. Like he's that bad. So going to be pretty ugly. And that's also, again, the worst weather game of the day between the Bears and the Jets. Downpouring rain for Nathan Peterman against the New York Football Jets. Everett or Njoku. I'd go Everett over Njoku. He gets the Cardinals. The best possible matchup for a tight end is against the Arizona Cardinals. Urgent. ETN, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Pacheco, Rachaad White. Pick 3, please. Yeah, you got to go these first two and then Rachaad White. It's these first two, then Rachaad White. ETN, Kamara, and Rachaad White. This week I need to start 2. Josh Jacobs, James Conner. Yeah, it's Josh Jacobs and Rachaad White. Again, I like Rachaad White a lot. He's a really good pass catcher. And there's no Leonard Fournette. And there's going to be wind and rain in this game. It could be a really big check down day for Tom Brady. That's why I like Rachaad White over 3 receptions. I also really like Jeff Wilson over 82.5 rushing yards. Sam the man, do you agree with Walter here? Let's see. Start Dameon Pierce and Pacheco over Ayuk. Yeah, I do agree with that one. I think Ayuk, he only had 2 catches last game. I think he scored on both of them, but he's got a pretty low floor with all these options in the 49ers passing attack and running attack. Now you look other way than Ayuk, I think. JT or Aaron Jones, got to start JT. Let me pull my running back rankings again on the YouTube live. You got to start JT, man. You got to start JT. Najee or Rachaad White. I'm going Rachaad White over Najee. Is Higbee playing? We don't know if Higbee's playing yet. I think he's actually in the late window too. If he plays, I like him a decent amount. But we don't know for sure he's going to play. It sounds like, though, he's on the right side of questionable. So I do think he's going to play. And there's no Allen Robinson. There's no Cooper Kupp. So, yeah, Trevor Siemian injured his oblique. So Nathan Peterman will start. And, I mean, who knows what's going to happen if Nathan Peterman gets hurt in a really bad weather game, because it doesn't sound like Trevor Siemian can play. Going to be a lot of David Montgomery today for the Bears. A lot of David Montgomery. Could be tough against this Jets defense that knows that they can't throw the ball, but I think David Montgomery 20+ touches is startable in most spots. Start Taysom over Everett. I have Everett ranked ahead of Taysom. I think I would play Everett over Taysom. He gets the Cardinals. Cardinals have stopped. I'm talking 0 tight ends. They've stopped 0 tight ends this entire season. I would play Taysom over Higbee. Just with the Higbee being questionable, I'm okay playing Taysom over Higbee. If we knew Higbee was playing, though, I think I would say Higbee over Taysom. Bench 1, and I do have Higbee ahead of him in my rankings. Bench 1, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Godwin, or Keenan Allen. PPR, yeah, I kind of feel like you bench Godwin here. The weather, the wind and rain, there's going to be wind gusts over 25 miles an hour. Let's run through the weather one more time. Weatherman Sam going to come out for just one more time, because I do think the weather is going to have a low-key bigger impact on these games this week than is being reported. So first of all, the Bears-Jets game. I mean, brutal weather in that game. There is going to be downpouring rain in that game, and it's going to get heavier and heavier as the game goes on. So brutal weather. We got Nathan Peterman versus Mike White. Stay away from this game outside of Dave Montgomery and Michael Carter, because James Robinson is out, healthy scratch this week. The other game, though, there's currently 22-mile-an-hour winds in the Bengals-Titans game. Could be wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour, but it sounds like it's going to get better as the game goes on. The wind and the potential rain in the Bengals-Titans game is going to decrease. So I still am very much in on the Bengals passing attack. The Buccaneers-Browns game is the next biggest game to be worried about. Scattered showers and wind gusts over 25 miles an hour in the Buccaneers-Browns game. That game's in Cleveland. The other game, the third and final game that I'm like relatively concerned about weather-wise, is the Falcons at the Washington Commanders. The Commanders in Washington, it is raining a lot right now and before the game, leading up to the game. Again, it's different than the Bears-Jets game. It's going to get worse as the game goes on. Similar to the Titans-Bengals game, it's going to get better as the game goes on. That's the Falcons-Commanders. So I think the rain is going to sort of subside as the game goes on, but the field conditions might be so bad by then with how much it's raining right now that I'm a little nervous for the Falcons-Commanders game too. So those are the weather updates. There's also some wind in the Raiders-Seahawks, Ravens-Jaguars game, but not enough for me to be very concerned. A little bit of rain potentially in those games too. Same thing with the Broncos, Carolina Panthers, but not enough to be concerned. So really the 3 concerning weather games today: the Bears-Jets, the Buccaneers-Browns, the Falcons-Commanders, and then maybe the Bengals-Titans. Right now it sounds like it's bad, but I think it's going to get better based on what I've read. So a lot of weather to be just monitoring and aware of today. All right, guys. let's pull up the DraftKings lineup one more time. I'm still sticking with the Joe Burrow stack, despite the potential bad weather in that game. Travis Etienne or Rachaad White, I would go Etienne. I would go Travis. I would go Rachaad White over Travis Etienne. Sorry, let's pull up the DraftKings lineup one more time here. I'm in the DraftKings lineup. You can see that on the YouTube live right now. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. Now, we are in the final stretch here of this live. You guys, I've been live for almost 3.5 hours. A shout out to everyone who's been in this live. Seriously, I'm very thankful for all of you, especially if you've been here for most of the time or close to all the time. I mean, seriously, shout out to you in supporting this live stream every Sunday. But yeah, I'm going Joe Burrow stacked with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins against the Titans secondary. We've got a WalterPicks TikTok subscriber, pick 2, Paris Campbell, Curtis Samuel, Treylon Burks. Yeah, I'd go Campbell and Treylon Burks over Curtis Samuel. Thank you for subscribing to the TikTok live, by the way. I'm also going with Mark Andrews. I really like Andrews this week against the Jaguars. There's no Isaiah Likely this week. Rashad Bateman's still out. I think there's a real chance that Andrews can outscore Kelsey this week, so I really like him on DraftKings as well. I also like running back Treylon Burks against the Bengals. Also, Treylon Burks had a very quiet breakout game last week. Chubb or Montgomery? Yeah, I like Montgomery more than Chubb. This week. All right, let's get to a few more questions. Appreciate you, Sam. Got you, Chet. Marvin Jones on the Jags or Sky Moore? Yeah, I'd go Marvin Jones over Sky Moore. I know Sky Moore played a little bit more, but I still think Marvin Jones is a little bit safer. Monty or Wilson? Jeff Wilson has to be played over David Montgomery. You have to start Jeff Wilson. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings here again on the YouTube live. Carter or Pirine? I like Michael Carter more than Pirine now that we know that James Robinson's out. You got to start the Bears defense for sure. B-Rob or Scantling? I like Scantling more than B-Rob. Sutton or Juju? I like Sutton more than Juju. James Robinson or Curtis Samuel? James Robinson is a healthy scratch. You cannot start James Robinson. Let's just run through one more time. All the guys that are out. So Fournette is out. Mixon is out. Jamar Chase is out. James Robinson is out. Justin Fields is out. Trevor Siemian and Justin Fields are out. It's going to be it's a really bleak situation for the Bears, but we're about to watch Nathan Peterman start for the Bears. We also have Allen Robinson out. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is out. Kyle Pitts is out. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Greg Dortch, Rondon Moore, Zach Ertz, all out. Jaylen Warren out. Isaiah Likely, Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Renfrow, Waller, Romeo Doubs, Darrell Henderson, Gage. All these guys are out today. Why don't you like B-Rob today? Because he was out-carried, and he's going to get out-targeted again like he did last week from Antonio Gibson. Like, he's not getting any of the catches, and he got out-carried by Antonio Gibson last week too. So he's just a touchdown-dependent running back. Sutton or Carter at flex. A shout-out to Ledger in the TikTok Live. Thank you for subscribing to the TikTok Live. I would go I think if it's a PPR league, even if it's not a PPR league, I'm okay going Carter, honestly. I think Carter over Sutton is the safe way to go with James Robinson out. I do think Carter gets a really big bump because of that. All right, guys. I'm going to be wrapping up the live here. Guys, time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'm going to spend the last 5 minutes of the live today on the TikTok Live. So I'm going to wrap up the YouTube Live. But guys, YouTube Live people, thank you so much for tuning in. If I didn't get your start set, you know where to go. It's the WalterPicks app and the iOS app and Android apps. So I actually just updated the projections with that Trevor Siemian news and some of the other news that has come out over the last 30 minutes. So that should be up to date in the WalterPicks app. Guys, good luck this Sunday. I'll be back live Thursday. As always, have a good one and good luck.